That's most definitely what's up.
Imagine a hero shooter where the hero never showed. Imagine a game with a player base that just refused to grow.
Death to all of them.
A 5v5 hero shooter with gameplay that's just okay.
That's most definitely what's up.
And characters that remind me of Tupperware and white bread. No, I'm not talking about Overwatch. Please stop bringing up Overwatch. This game is not Overwatch. It's actually something else. Imagine a game with a story that no one watches. A game that costs $40 that Sony totally botches. It has all my favorite characters, like Lemmy, Dawn, and Craig. At least, I think that's what their names are. I never bothered to check. Concord like the grave, your legacy is safe. As a game that no one played, and a price that no one paid. Boop-a-doop-ba, beep-a-doop-da, scoop-a-boop-ba, beep-beep-beep-beep-beep, phlegm. Concord was about as good as accidentally peeing on your own leg. Concord, we're here to lay you to rest. We know you tried your best. You copied so much cool stuff just to turn out lame in the end. I'll never forget my favorite moments, like when Hot Sauce Guy jumped. Remember when he jumped? That was really cool. A rat just ran by on my desk, and even the rat didn't want to play Concord, even though I blessed him with the chance. The $40 he could afford, but the rat just stared on in a trance. Rat, 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 rat. Concord's dead. Rat, 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 rat. Concord's dead. The Costco guys made more money than you. They were just on Jimmy Fallon too. Imagine Lennox being on Jimmy Fallon, because I literally can't. The rat on my desk is eating all my Cheerios and grapes. And also Concord is dead. Concord like the grave, your legacy is safe. As a game that no one played, and a price that no one paid. Rat-a-ta-ta-beep-a-da, boom. Skim, milk, the rat fleet, doo-da, doo-da. A guy said he really liked it, and then a bunch of rats ate his face. That's the sound he made when Concord passed away. I wish things turned out different, but either way I'm getting paid. Concord's dead, Concord's dead, and boy is my face red. When the game came out, everybody overslept. Concord's dead, Concord's dead. Holy crap, Lois, Concord's dead. When the game out, people played everything else instead.
Welcome, my friends. Here we are once more, putting Concord to rest. Oh, son of a mother. My freaking... This is gonna kill me. It's... My monitor keeps, like, going black randomly. And I don't know why. I don't know why. It's driving me crazy. No screensavers turned on. There's no reason it should be blacking out. I just, oh man. I love the Elgato capture cards. I love them. They're great until they do stuff like this. It drives me up the wall. Anyway, how are you guys? Todd's at it again. Yeah, probably. Porn virus. One can only hope, but I think it's just malfunctioning. I've already had to RMA one of these capture cards, these Elgato 4K X whatever. There goes again. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I don't even know what's happening. Like the signal just drops, but it stays on the capture card. So the capture card will show the screen. It went black again. The capture card will show it just fine, and then it blacks out here. I genuinely don't know what the deal is. Replaced all the cables. Tried it on different monitors. I don't know. It's above my pay grade. Above my pay grade, tell you what. Anyway, driver updates. Yeah, we've done all of it. I worked with Elgato support on it. And so I sent them, like, they have a special tool. You can download all the log files or whatever. And they looked at it and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. So they're like, yep, send it back. We'll send you a new one. Did that. New one. Still doing it. I found other people online that were having the same problem. So it's not just me. It just seems to be an issue with the card. I don't know. It's really frustrating because other than that, it's a fantastic little piece of kit. But man, did you try slapping it real hard so it knows who's boss? I should try that to get it to behave again. The Concord song made me black out. You know what? That's fair. That's fair. It has that effect on people for sure. For sure. Is that really an AI generated song? Yep. Jacob made it. So he had to write the lyrics and stuff, but the music and vocals and everything are AI generated. Not bad, right? Really not bad. Okay. So we do have a handful of things to talk about today, more so than on Wednesday. We're going to forward through it pretty, at a pretty decent clip, I think. Because there's a handful of stuff that we'll go through, and we'll talk about all that nitty gritty goodness, because there have been some surprising reveals this week. If you have not heard, some really wild revelations. And so we'll talk about all that. PS5s are out in the wild. People are trying them. Where's... Boo, 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 boo. I had a tab pulled up. Yeah, there's some people that have done little reviews and stuff on it. And it seems like in general, it's kind of like we expected. There's people that are like, hey, it's awesome if you got the big TV and if you really love Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, then absolutely worth it. If you're not playing that, like it's marginal. If you got money to burn, go buy one, sure. But like I said, I think it'll make sense next year. Right now, if you're buying it, it's just going to sit on your shelf, which is not the end of the world. Like, we all kind of did that with the Nintendo Switch, if you recall. We all bought that, played Breath of the Wild, and then had nothing to play for like 8 months until they started releasing some other stuff. So it's kind of in that spot, but there's no exclusive or console seller right now. So you're just buying something to have it, so next year you can use it. So there you go. Are you guys uploading the Concord song? I don't know where to upload it to. Where would we put it? I'm pretty sure Spotify has like rules against AI generated music. I'm not sure if you can even do that. So it's on the whatever Sumo website, so you can listen to it there, but I don't know if you can put it anywhere else. YouTube, I hear it's great. Yeah, I guess we could make like a little music video for it. Yellow, clip the video for the stream of you reacting to the song for the first time you listened to it. Oh yeah, Jacob, you should do that. You should clip whenever that was, Friday, when we listened to it for the first time. It can be like a 4-minute video, 4-minute reaction, but then people can go listen to it. Jacob Schumann will do. My 4060 Ti PC has been sitting on a shelf gaming wise because my PS5 can play the newest big titles more reliably, not even half the price. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, there definitely is a benefit to console gaming. Don't get me wrong. And there's a handful of games. Like I used to play consoles a lot more, play on console a lot more when, like certainly pre ROG Ally. Once I got that, like it became harder to justify playing on console, but I still play a lot of games on console. Like even Elden Ring still runs like garbage on PC. It has a real problem with stuttering. Even now, it had it at launch and it still has it today. So if you want to play Elden Ring, like, and not deal with shader compilation issues and headaches every time you enter a new area, like console's a really solid bet. Name a car for an edit. Ford Pinto. Have fun with that one. I heard the stutter is down to certain Intel CPUs. Oh, maybe I should try it again. Maybe I should try it again because I swapped to AMD recently. So maybe I try that. Because when I tried it on my Intel-based system earlier in the year when the DLC came out, it was rough, man. I was like, how is this not a bigger deal to people? Because it was borderline unplayable. You basically couldn't run into any major boss arena or anything. The first 2 or 3 times you'd fight it, you would die because it would stutter so much while building shaders and stuff. It was bad. That's my understanding, is at least what it was. Render distance was bad on PC for Elden Ring as well. Yeah, it's the other side of it was like the game is capped to 60 no matter what. So the only reason to play on PC is if you want to enjoy higher resolutions, which is fine. Like that's totally a reason to play. But most people's 4K like big displays are in their living room. So already like you're playing on PC to have stuttering and not a ton of other stuff. You can uncap it. Maybe there's like a better fix for it now, but when I tried uncapping it back when the expansion dropped, the AI of certain enemies would break. So they would move at like double speed, or they would not move at all. Like their AI would just break. It didn't function because they tied the AI to like certain frame rates or frame timings. So it's like, okay, every 13 frames, consider doing this attack on the player. And once you uncapped it, it just broke. It's not too bad now. Oh, that's good. Maybe I got to go back and try it. If they fixed it, that's awesome, because it was rough for a little while. Okay, let's talk about everyone's favorite topic, okay? Let's talk about this. Aiden, maybe check the HDMI connection. Yeah, I checked it too. I replaced the cables. I've done everything I can think of for this damn capture card, and I don't know. I really don't know. I thought maybe it was like, because I'm at the limit, I'm sending it a 4K 120 frame per second signal. I was like, maybe it's just reaching data capacity and then tripping. So I tried going in and like capping the frame rate, capping different things about it, but I couldn't get any of that to work. Hey Luke, if we can save enough super chats to buy a sponsored slot, you and Jacob should perform the Concord song at the Game Awards. Can you imagine in the audience, you've got like members of the team that made it, and you've got Jeff Keighley sitting there. We do a very, I would want it to be like very high production value. You ever see that like old, crap, what was the song? It was one of the lip sync battles. Oh, it was Umbrella. Yeah, I'd want it to be like All hands on deck. We have a rain simulation on stage. You know, Jacob dancing like this, of course. But it's for the Concord song. I think we could do that. We bring out Maddie. Joe Raptor comes out doing backflips. And then he's dressed as a Horizon dinosaur. We could do that. I think we got options. We got options. Do a Dustborn song. Oh, maybe we should do a Dustborn song. That would be funny. It's just, Jacob, now part of your work duties and assignments are to make these AI songs on a regular basis. Jeff would only let us do it if he got a solo. He'd only let us do it if we had him do like a dedicated solo dance number with Hideo Kojima, where like they waltz for a small like 15-20 second segment. And Jeff's like, I don't know, Hideo, like this is what Luke said we have to do. I guess we should do it. I guess, you know. He lets us no choice. Oh man, Jackson, is Dragon Age Veilguard considered a success? It sounds like from the people I've spoken to that work there, yes. Some people are so dedicated to the idea that it has to be a flop that they are saying, well, Black Myth Wukong did 2.4 million concurrent players, or, you know, this game did more concurrent players, which is all true. Absolutely. That doesn't mean that this is a failure, though. It means those were spectacular successes. You know, there's a difference. If I go and I make like $200,000 a year, I'm doing very well for myself. I'm probably considered quite successful. Pointing to like Elon Musk and saying, well, yesterday he made $22 billion in the Tesla stock rally, so therefore you're not a success. It's like that. I mean, yeah, he's very successful, but that's not saying that the $200,000 success is a failure. It's just saying that that other guy is crazy successful, you know? So I think that there's not much nuance that people can think of when they talk about this. How many refunds though? Who knows? I do know the game is supposedly doing very well on Steam. A lot of people are buying it, but a lot of people are like haven't really sunk their teeth into it yet. They've been kind of waiting for PS4 or PS5 Pro or something else. I don't know. But the people I've spoken to that work at BioWare and specifically work within like the upper echelons of EA, they consider it to be a success. They're like, yeah, no, we're really happy with it. Like, we'd love it if it was even more successful, but yeah, we're happy with where it's at. And I know that probably breaks the brain of some people, but like, that just seems to be the standard. Will it make like as big of a tail end revenue as I think they were expecting? I don't think so. I've been playing it, and honestly, man, like what I said last stream, I still stand by it as I've gotten more into it. It's not really an RPG. It is a friendship simulator that happens to feature a broader story and some gear. Like, most of the game is built around you talking with companions who do have some of them have interesting story arcs and have some interesting places to go and different things like that. But a lot of it is also like really out of place and kind of cringy. Let me see if I can show you a clip. I don't actually remember if I moved. Oh, did I not capture it? Oh, crap. I might not actually have it. Game footage. Dragon Age. The Veilguard. Final release. And my screen goes black again. Mother. Please hold. Please hold. While my computer decides to function again. Please hold. Still black. Still black screen. Love this. Cutting edge technology. 2024. Monitor trying to turn itself off. Is it just my monitor? Maybe the monitor is going out. That would be heartbreaking. It's like the HDMI port on the monitor. I don't know what else could be doing this. Man, the monitor has standards. It's like, we can't do this. Come on, man. My monitor is protesting. That's funny. You don't have DisplayPort? Well, I do. So I have a dual streaming setup, a dual streaming PC setup. So I have like the output from the big computer going to the streaming PC and a capture card, and then it reroutes out to the monitor, which is all HDMI based, because they want it to be usable also for consoles and stuff like that. But this capture card is just turning into a nightmare. So what I used to do is I used to have a DisplayPort going from the PC to the monitor, and then I would have a separate cloned monitor source that was routed out to the capture card. And the capture card didn't have an output. And that worked fine. It's still black screen. Like I don't understand what could possibly be doing this. But anyway, that's what I used to do, and maybe I just have to route that. It just has really bad screen tearing at times, which sucks. But I think that's what we gonna have to do, fam. I think that's what we're gonna have to do, because we can't just have a blank screen for the whole stream. So I guess that's what we're gonna do. Guess that's what we gonna have to do. Oh, maybe? Come on. Nope. Okay. Unbelievable. This is like a $280 capture card. Remember that. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Craziness, man.
Take is now a member.
Thank you, friend. Thank you. Just trying to keep things from falling apart. Oh, jeez. Umbrella, Ella, A. Under my umbrella, Ella. Now I want to do that dance. So let's be honest, I am nowhere near as nimble as a Tom Holland. There's no way I could do that. Not bendy enough, you know? He's a very bendy guy. Do you think Zendaya did that to him? Do you think that's why he's all bendy? They have like couple stretching hour. They just like sit kumbaya and stretch. Good for them. Good frickin' for them, man. Okay. Cables plugged in. Switching inputs. Tom is like 15. Yeah, he's been 15 for like 15 years, man. I swear to God and all the demons in hell, why isn't my monitor working? I'm gonna commit crimes for the sake of the good of the world. Unbelievable. This is ridiculous. Okay, this is monitor 1. We're going to duplicate these displays. Okay. Duplicate displays. Keep changes. And double check resolution and refresh rate. Okay. Okay. Let's... Voila. Okay, we are back. We are back, fam. Here we go. So, I don't know if this is actually the bit... Because I went back to capture this quest line, but I think this is all old stuff. Yeah, it's not what I wanted. Basically, there's a sequence where, like, a bunch of people have just died, like, a lot of them, many, many people. And you get back to the lighthouse and you're all talking with each other. And she's like, you have this moment where you can go on a side quest with Tash, who's the Kunari. You go on the side quest. And I kid you not, like, it is the most obnoxious, like, God, Mom, I don't want to do this right now kind of thing. It's unbelievable. Dinner quest. Maybe somebody's uploaded it. Yeah, I think this is it. Like, listen to this. This is in the game, like, and this happens after a pretty intense, serious moment, okay?
Mother and I have a weekly dinner thing. I was gonna meet her in Ravane. You could come with me. As, you know, with me. If you want.
I'd love to.
Okay. So you're going to dinner with Tash and Tash's mom.
You're late. And you brought a guest.
Tosh invited me.
I will set another plate. She did not tell me you were coming.
I don't smell the Iskop. We always have Iskop on Tuesdays.
I am not yet finished with my studies. I thought you would help me tonight.
And by help, you mean do it all. You haven't even chopped the melons.
You swing axes all day. Do you lack the strength to chop a few melons?
Like, I'm just for me, again, like, maybe I'm just old and cynical at this point. But like, if I had somebody in my life who acted like this, certainly to their own mother, I'd be like, it'd be a problem. Like, it's funny. I had a friend in college who acted kind of like this to their parents. It was really bizarre. Like, we were doing theater together and he had his like parents come to the show. His parents came to the show and they were some of the sweetest people ever. Like, some of the nicest people you've ever met. And like Chick-fil-A nice, you know, like the kind of nice where you're like, are you going to kill me? Like, nobody's this kind. It's like Chick-fil-A Mormon nice, that level. And at one point, like, we get backstage after meeting everybody and we're packing up our stuff. And I turned to him and I said, dude, your parents are so great. Your dad is hilarious. Such a nice guy. Thinking I'm just complimenting him and his family, right? And he like freaked out. He's like, no, my dad is a freaking, you know, but worse language. It's like, he's a effing bigot, and I never want you to hear anybody compare me to him. I'm nothing like him. And like, dude blows up. And he was also like really dismissive and really nasty to his parents. They came out with us to like a big dinner everybody had after the show, and he was so nasty to them the entire time. Turns out he was pissed with his dad because his dad was like an open and out like Trump supporter back in 2016, and he considered that to be like endorsing genocide or whatever. I'm not here to discuss that, but that's why he was like really upset with his father and people saying that his dad was nice. But he was so nasty to his parents that it actually caused like a rift between our whole friend group, where we're like, if he's that nasty to his own parents who are lovely, what is he saying about us behind our backs? What is he doing with, like, there's something off there, and it caused like a real problem. And when you see people behaving like this to their parents in a game, like, you shouldn't be surprised, even if your character, like the character's mom, is kind of nasty or is kind of dismissive or judgmental, whatever their fault is, you still shouldn't be surprised when I'm like, this just seems like they just seem like like a prick, like a spoiled brat. And that, like, and that's the thing, is like in big RPGs, when you have a lot of characters, that's okay. You don't have to interact with one character or the other. For example, I might trigger some people, I don't really like Will in Baldur's Gate. I've never really found his plot lines particularly interesting, so I almost never play with Will. I just don't. And I don't think I'm alone with that. I think he's actually the least popular character in like the cast of companions for that game, or party members. But like, I just don't like him as a character. I just have never found him that compelling, so I just don't play with him, and it's fine. And with Tash, you can do the same thing. If you don't find the storyline compelling, which I don't think many people do, you can just not really pursue it or, you know, engage with it. However, the way the game is designed is that there are multiple like story sequences where you need them in your party and where you need certain characters in your party. And so you're kind of forced into it. And, you know, I don't love that, because it's not like the more exposed to Tash I get, the more I'm just like, I don't think this character is equipped to help try to save the world. Like, the world is ending. Dragons are consuming thousands of people. And we're over here like talking about our deepest feelings and stuff. And that's fine. There's a time and place for that, but it's not when the world is ending. You know, I hate to be that guy, but like, if you and I were fighting off, like, not even close to the same scale. If there was a bear outside of this house and the bear is like ripping people, my neighbors, to shreds, eating people, and I'm like, I'm going to go get my gun and we're going to end this bear once and for all. And then you're like, well, let's just like sit around. I just need to talk about my feelings and my anxieties. I'd be like, shut up. There's a bear outside. We have bigger problems than your feelings right now, you know? But in the game, like, tonally, it's just very off, where there's this shift between super dark, serious main story stuff and then this really lighthearted, silly, side questy stuff with companions. And for me, it just constantly tears me out of it. Every time I'm like trying to take the main story seriously, the side stuff tears me out again. And I guess it can work if you kind of turn your brain off to it. Don't think about it too hard. But I mean, you guys know me. I can't really do that. Luke Stevens, Bear Guard. F your feelings, gotta kill the bear. Yeah, it's like, there's a time for this. It's not now. You know who does this really, really well? Red Dead Redemption. Red Dead 2 specifically. Arthur, later in that game, at this point it's like 6 years old, so I can talk about it. Like 6 years old is that game. And in that game, there's a point where Arthur has to start coming to grips with his own mortality. He's having to come to grips with the awful things he's done throughout his life and what that means as his life is coming to an end. There's like a major crisis of self that happens for his character. And they explore that, but not when they're being chased through a city and being shot at, with him pausing. He's like, Dutch, I need to talk about my feelings. I feel like you don't appreciate me. Like, it's not the time and place for that, man. He waits till they're sitting around a campfire, and then they start talking about it in those quieter moments. And I think that is what's kind of missing from Dragon Age for me, is that there's not a whole lot of, it's not super well like paced. You know, they'll go from super dark, scary, crazy to let's sit around and validate each other's anxieties. And it's like, it's a friendship simulator, and that's okay. That's okay. It's not the end of the world. But you also shouldn't be surprised when people play it wanting an RPG and wanting some intense stories, and then they find it jarring to swap back and forth between those, you know. It's not even super dark, it's super gray. Yeah, I guess, I mean, what I mean with like super dark is, I mean, like, there's a city, almost everyone in the city dies. You don't get to see it. You don't get to, like, you see like the blight expanding or whatever, but you hear dialogue of like hundreds of people just died, and you hear all of this other stuff. And so they tell you that everything's going horribly wrong, and then you find out that it's Joaquin, thank you for 21 months. Then you hear that. What's your wife's opinion since she's a big fan? She's still enjoying it. She's saying, you know, she loves the little tie-ins to Dragon Age 2. She loves that stuff. She's doing everything, like all of the companion quests, all the side quests, like she's doing absolutely everything, and she's having a really good time. But she was saying the other night, she's like, it doesn't really feel that much like Dragon Age. Still having a good time. You know, the little tie-ins to the previous games help make it feel like the same thing. But it's, oh yeah, she also got really ticked off with the combat because it feels like the combat is just made, it's like designed to slow you down. And a lot of the enemies are like super spongy and stuff. So she ended up like getting really frustrated with one of the boss fights because it was like, this isn't even fun. It's just tedious. Like, I'm not getting hit. It just takes half an hour to whittle their health down, you know? Like, at this point, I think that there's a few good points for Dragon Age, a few things that it does really well. I love the high production value. I love the cinematic design. I think the game looks really good. It's fantastically well optimized and polished on PC. There's stuff like that you can certainly compliment it for. But then there's some of this other stuff where I'm like, the writing just holds this game back so much. So much. It could have been so much better if they cut a lot of this. Because a lot of people think that if you just throw stuff in, if you don't like it, just don't engage with it. So the people that like that, it'll be a +1 to their final score, basically. And the people that don't like it just won't engage with it, so it won't affect their score. But that's not how it works. A bad quest does more harm than good, even if a few people really like the bad quest, okay? Like, if you're not going to do something really well, don't put it in the game. And I think that there's a lot of issues with that. Made for a modern audience. I think a couple of the quest lines were designed with that in mind. And they were hoping that the other people just wouldn't play it. But the problem is they weave it all together so it just all mixes in and it just feels out of place, a lot of it. Because again, it's like, this is like the world is ending and we're going to sit around singing Kumbaya and doing it. Like, it just doesn't feel appropriate. And so if you're trying to take it seriously, and certainly if you're trying to role play, you want to grab some of these characters and shake them and be like, snap out of it. This is not the time for this. But you can't, because it's not really an RPG. It's a friendship simulator. And that's that. Okay. But let's talk about this. Let's shift out of this. I don't know how we got there. New segment. And then I'll catch up on super chats and subs and stuff. Thank you, my friends, for all that. Okay. So this article popped up from PC Gamer. Metaphor ReFantasio's success is further proof that politics are good in video games. Actually, no matter what reactionaries tell you. Now, if you're not aware, I love me some Metaphor ReFantasio. It's my frontrunner for Game of the Year. I eat it up. Like, it's really, really good. Really good. And it is very political, just in nature. Like, the whole thing, the whole game's world is about different class disparities. It's about the like religious organizations trying to force their ideologies on people, basically rig what's supposed to be sort of a democratic process of selecting the next leader. And then there's other people trying to force their way through propaganda. It's like, it's very, very good and very, very political. But people are saying that this is, and this is where this can get into a slippery bit where we have to be very precise with our language, as we'll read. Because some people are saying, therefore, because of this, you should be able to put whatever you want in any game that is political, and it's good because Metaphor did it well. But this is like the key point. It's not the fact that there's political topics in the game. It's the fact that they are implemented very poorly in some games. Some guy named Zach said, no, real people have a problem with politics in games. Metal Gear Solid and Metaphor prove this. The thing people have a problem with is political and social ideology being inserted into a game in a heavy-handed, one-dimensional, and patronizing way. I think the key is the patronizing way, or the lecturing way. I do think that that's accurate. I think the way that some of these games have done it, like Dustborn being a prime example, where they literally like have entire dialogue sequences lecturing you about how like you need to defund the police, how you need to fight the system, how you need to what was the other one that was unbelievable? It was like you use your ultimate ability to trigger people. You know, it's like, it's crazy. You socially manipulate people. It was wild. People don't like that, you know, because at the end of the day, like fundamentally, people want to play a good game. That's what they want. That's what they want. And if there's a storyline or if there's a plot line, political or not, that's poorly written, poorly implemented, and is just there to service like the like virtuous satisfaction of the writers, even though it doesn't have a good place in the story or in the game itself, yeah, people are not going to like that. They're not going to connect with it. But let's see. The thing sold like hotcakes, Metaphor specifically, shunting out over 1 million copies on its first day, and it's been critically well received to boot. We gave it a sparkling 95 in our Metaphor ReFantazio review, just 2 points off of Baldur's Gate 3, an RPG that's likely to rule our top 100 list forever, dethroning Disco Elysium in an act of pure regicide even. Reviews from other outlets have been shiny as well. Top marks all around. Absolutely. It really is very, very good. Which might surprise you, because if you're listening to the reactionary content mills of the information highway at large, you might be told time and time again that politics don't have a place in video games. If you're currently ankle deep in making a reaction video and about to call me cringe, hi, I hope you're doing well. Hi. Imagine me waving enthusiastically. I think the key is it's about it's not just no politics, full stop. When people are saying they don't like ideologies being put into games, they specifically mean in terms of the quality of the writing and the implementation. If you want to have like characters that are exploring like body dysmorphia or something in a game, you can probably do that like very intelligently and well. I don't think like Dustborn is a great example of that type of thing though. The strawman I'm constructing will tell you that we need to get back to a time when games weren't woke and were instead about simpler, grizzled, tough guys tackling straightforward problems. Big dudes in armor. There ought to be a choir in there somewhere and a badass one-liner that accompanies someone getting stabbed. That'll fix gaming, and then we'll never have to think about anything uncomfortable ever again. But games like Metaphor ReFantazio, along with many others, really do show that gamers like politics more than you think. Again, I think we'll see where the nuance comes in. But I think there's a difference between discussing like political intrigue in a court, trying to select a new ruler, and what you see in games like a Dragon Age, or games like a Dustborn, or like a Saints Row reboot, things like that. There's a difference. Metaphor ReFantazio is an extremely political game. It might not have you directly picking ideologies to cook in your mind palace like Disco Elysium does, but its politics are a mainline event, even elbowing out some other Atlas mainstays like uncomfortable and thorny fan service romances. Uchronia, to put it bluntly, sucks. No one is happy here. The game's tribes are all some degree of oppressed or oppressing, and you, in Elda, are the most oppressed boy of all. You're met with open superstition and fear, only protected from having your ribs kicked in an alley by some horned turbo racist because you happen to be the protagonist of a JRPG. Even when your political candidacy is going well, there's a strong undercurrent of egads and Elda. I guess he's one of the good ones going on. Yeah. A lot of the game is also spent discussing fictional utopia in a book owned by Will, the canon name for your Elda and Uchronia's most unexpected frontrunner. The utopia itself scans as an overly idealized version of our own society. It's a democratic meritocracy where all ideas are welcome, no belief is suppressed, and political corruption is regarded with disdain. And while this seems kind of like Atlas bloviating from a soapbox about how democracy and freedom is good and racism is bad, both things I entirely agree with, to be clear. Good, I would hope so. What really surprised me is how methodically the game picks the idea of a perfect society apart. Heisme, your chief companion from a tribe that consists of small bat-like humanoids, has one of the more scathing views of this utopia, which makes sense. He's from one of the more distinctly non-human tribes and is arguably even more discriminated against than you are. As he puts it, we're nocturnal. We look worlds apart. There's so few of us. not enough for any political sway. These themes of inequality and injustice aren't just in the margins of Metaphor story, they're front and center. I think one of the benefits, though, is because they are in a fantastical setting, you're able to discuss things in a dynamic way where it doesn't feel like you are just copying and pasting lazily real world topics into your game world. Like, again, there's a difference between quality writing with like symbolism and similes and parody between reality and this world. There's a difference between that being well done and just copying and pasting some talking point from this election cycle into your fantasy game because you want to explore the topic or something. Like, it just feels very much out of place. You know, there's a big difference. And I think that what is being discussed here is that in many ways it is fighting a straw man where they're saying like people have a problem innately with politics or controversial topics discussed in games, and that is not true at all. People don't have a problem with that. People have a problem with the lecturing attitude, with the attitude of like talking down to gamers about stuff, assuming that they're stupid and can't think about these different things. And at the same time, also, like, Metaphor explores these topics and characters disagree on different aspects of it, and they leave the player to kind of decide where they want to land on it. You know, they're not trying to just put up like the idea of the utopia. You have characters that come in and say, I don't think that would even work. I don't think this utopia could exist for this reason or that reason. Like, they explore it, and you have different characters that counter it, which, you know, multiple different ways. But again, there's a difference between quality writing and garbage writing. And I think that there's just not a lot of nuance that's being considered here. It's kind of dismissive to the broader point. Oh, it's going to read this for us.
G. Mendez is now a member. Politics in games isn't the issue. It's certain politics in certain games. They speak as if there's no nuance.
Even that, though, I'm not sure if it's even just certain politics in games. Like, there was, isn't it from Dragon Age Inquisition? Let me see if I can find the clip. Maybe here. I don't see it. What I was trying to find, there's clips from Dragon Age Inquisition where they have like discussions of the Kunari where there's a like a distinction between strictly male and female, or like in The Witcher 3 with what's his name, the storekeeper that sells clothes and stuff, that wears dresses and stuff, and that's in The Witcher 3. Like, there's different things like that, which today we would just label as woke broadly or whatever, but they've been discussed or tackled in other games, and it wasn't considered highly controversial at those times. But nowadays, like, the quality of the writing and implementation of it is so poor that a lot of it just gets, you know, cast out hook, line, and sinker. It's just nobody wants to tolerate or discuss any of it. You know. Blake, thank you for the 5. Eric Kane from Forbes, who's left wing, has a great article about politics in games, specifically Veilguard. Really good read with lots of nuance. Oh, that's good to hear. Yeah, I think my bigger problem is just when the writing slips into the realm of like this lecturing, dismissive, frankly kind of insulting way, like assuming that all gamers think one way or agree with one streamer, and so you have to like lecture people through all of this. It's just really frustrating to hear people whittle it down in such a basic way. So, no, you can have complex discussions. And I think that that's the big difference, is that Metaphor meets people where they are, and some of these other games like Veilguard, even, they don't do that. Oh, this looks interesting.
Demeter's Crossing.
This is interesting. Let's see. Samaya, thank you for that. Metaphor might be the best game I have played, which involves exploration of political topics. A lot of games either are too preachy or too scared to cover anything sensitive and are handled poorly. Well, and what I appreciate is that they talk about like the topics, they explore them, but they will offer like the conflicting views on the part of other characters, and they'll come in and offer conflicting perspectives and stuff. And it's not clearly stated like, oh, Heismay is right and you're wrong. This is what Heismay thinks. You can disagree with him, you can agree with him, but this is what Heismay thinks based on his experience. And then this guy over here has a different opinion. And then this character, she has a different opinion than that. And so they literally put all this out there for you to explore the topic. Whereas a lot of these other games, it is just full stop. No, this is what's right. And if you don't agree with it, or if you don't agree with this character, you're wrong, you're bad. And there's no dialogue to choose from, to disagree with them. Like, and that's what surprised me, is that in most of these like encounters in Dragon Age Veilguard, there is no ability usually to disagree with your companions, or to say to your companion, you're wrong, or you're mistaken here. There just isn't really anything like that. This looks interesting though. This looks interesting. I want to show you guys this. Jeremy, have you seen the RE9 leaks? Your thoughts on them? I have not really seen them, so I don't really have anything to say on it. Looks like it's mostly main story. I just Googled it. Looks like it's mainly main story stuff. Rumor has it it's been pushed back. Another remake will come before it. So I haven't really dug into it, but it sounds like there's some stuff. Astro Tudor, thank you for that super chat as well. Joaquin, thank you again for the 21 months. Blake, thank you for the 2. Here's 2 for your next capture card. Hell yeah. Take just became a member at the show off tier. Take certainly is showing off. Thank you, my friend. Very generous. And then Mike, yeah, we all pitch in to sponsor a slot to have Jacob and I perform the song. I think that would be a great idea. I think that's fantastic. Let's see this. Jacob, that article, we don't have to clip into something. I just wanted to talk about it. But this, I think we could clip into something because this is interesting. News, Amy. Concord like the grape. Okay. The most evil thing you can do in Dragon Age the Veilguard versus Baldur's Gate 3. Spoilers for the end of Baldur's Gate 3 and for the first little tidbit in Dragon Age the Veilguard. This is only like 4 or 5 hours in. But yeah, this is pretty much a perfect example of why I've been saying Dragon Age the Veilguard is not really an RPG. It is a friendship simulator that starts the first few hours looking like it's going to be an RPG, and then it just kind of gives up on that and turns into friendship simulator. And sort of like group therapy simulator too later in the game, where it's like, there's a dragon killing thousands of people. Why are we just sitting around talking about our feelings? Can we take a break? Let's just deal with the problem at hand. But let's see what this is. Let me show you. This is from Tarek.
I know you. You're the mayor of this town.
The village. The people. Are they,
Blighted. Dead. All of them.
Sure are.
You gave them to the gods, didn't you? Didn't you?
They were in my head. Infecting my thoughts. They made me do it. Please, help me.
So basically this mayor betrayed his whole town. All of them are dead. He says he was corrupted. His thoughts were corrupted by the gods, who took advantage of him. And so he's not really to blame. He's a victim as well, you know, in all this. And the player has a choice of leaving him to die or kind of releasing him. And this is one of the only times in the entire game that you get to make a choice that is between a good quote unquote action and an evil hard action. Even then, I don't know if I would even consider it evil to leave him to die after he caused an entire village to die. But, you know, it's a clear choice between the player doing something quote unquote good and merciful and doing something dark. Most of the other choices in the game are like, two bad things are happening. Pick which one. These people are going to die or these people are going to die. Which people do you want to die? It's just like a trolley problem with no disparity between the outcomes. So it's just a 1-to-1, like kind of meaningless choice, but you can still make that choice later. Funnily enough, this is a sequence that was shown to us at the preview event back in like early September. And we were shown this and they said like, this is just one of many morally gray choices you'll be making in the game. And I feel like it's maybe one of 2 or 3 that you make in the entire game, and it has almost no consequence whatsoever. I'm not even sure if there is a consequence. I chose to leave him. I've heard no reference to it other than a line of dialogue like 5 minutes after this scene. So I don't know if it comes back at the end of the game. I don't know if it has consequence later on. Maybe it does. But that's like one of the very few choices you can make between bad, quote unquote, and good, right? So you can leave him there. But then let's fast forward to Baldur's Gate 3, which is, in my opinion, like a true role-playing game. And this is where I've been frustrated. It's like the last 5 years, maybe even 10 years, the term RPG is thrown around so casually, it doesn't mean anything anymore. RPG is supposed to mean role-playing game. It's supposed to be a game in which you can choose a role before you even start, and you can play that role out. If you want to play as a mass-murdering serial killer, you can do that. If you want to play as Gandhi and go through it as peacefully as you possibly can, while viciously masturbating, you can do that, because apparently that's what Gandhi liked to do. You can do all sorts of crazy stuff if you decide where you want to start, and then you can play that role. And that's what's so fun about role-playing games, is if you want to play Fallout New Vegas, I've even done this. If you want to do a Jesus playthrough of Fallout New Vegas, you can do that. Like full pacifist run. If you want to go and you want to play as a serial killer, you can do that. If you want to go and like role play as somebody who is terrible in combat but just smooth talks everybody, you can do that. You know, you can do that. WTF, never heard about that with Gandhi. Yeah, dude, Gandhi was like, he was a bro, like a full frat bro. He would like go and just, he thought that like sexuality was evil, so he would go and have like teen girls lay with him naked in his bed, and then he would just try to resist doing anything. Like there's some amazing stories about Gandhi and his bizarre like sexual self-hatred. Like it was bizarre. He's kind of based. Yeah. Look it up, dude. There's books written on this. There's whole things. He would have been buddies with Diddy, I'm sure. But he was like super like trying to avoid it. Like, dude, there's so many. Yeah, I'm Indian. It's true. Yeah. Like a lot of the things he stood for, sure. Like the pursuit of peace and all that. That's great. But dude also was like kind of a sexual weirdo. Like he was kind of crazy, but that's a separate thing. Yeah, he was a player. Yeah. Anyway, how did we get on that? I don't know. So I was talking about like truly evil things you can do in games. Somehow I landed on Gandhi and his weird things with sex. Anyway, the point is true RPGs. Oh, that's how I got on it. True RPGs, you can pick a role and you can play it. That's why people love New Vegas. That's why people love Baldur's Gate. Because they're real. And like games like D&D, tabletop role-playing games, where it truly is unlimited, so long as your DM is willing to put up with you. If you want to play, you know, as basically a Kratos character mourning the loss of his family, you can do that. If you want to play as a happy-go-lucky turtle that just more than anything wants to be a performer known the world over, and you play as a bard, you can do that. You know, there's so much flexibility in that. Dragon Age doesn't let you do any of that. Baldur's Gate, on the other hand, does, and this is an example of what real dark, gritty, like evil looks like at the end of Baldur's Gate. I'll play it here in just a second once
Robert
this reads.
Connor is now a member. Would I come to Luke Stevens for critical game takes and smack talk of Gandhi?
You're damn right. You're damn right. Yeah. It's got a balance. You know, we have to balance it out. Okay, so let's see this. Let's see what Baldur's Gate's evil choices look like. In case you're not aware, that's he killed the Emperor, so he killed like one of the only characters that could help you stop the Elder Brain.
In Baal's name.
Giggity. Yeah. Baal, like the god of murder. If you haven't done an Urge playthrough, I encourage you to, because your character like can pursue that and basically become like the chosen of the god of murder. Again, like pretty hardcore, right?
1,000 respiring things lie below, pointing up at you, gasping their last. But there is one who deserves the honor of your first death, the beginning of your end.
My magnificent love. Do you see now what you are capable of? Such terrible beauty. Such beautiful devastation.
Bro. Lizard kiss. Mm.
No. We were meant to do this together.
The best description of this is in the comments of this video. We go down. Veilguard. Leave a greedy scumbag to his fate. Baldur's Gate 3. Omnicide. Kill everyone. Yeah. 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 Indeed.
Time for the final act. Your tragedy has become mankind's.
Just casually killing everybody. Okay. Okay. True evil playthrough. Like a true evil playthrough.
Creature living, with all else felled by your hand. Alone amidst their gall at the close of eternity. Then, and only then, Father will be proud.
Little bit of a difference, right? A little bit of a difference. Having killed literally anyone or everyone, they pivot and oh man, it's so great. It's so great. So that's what I think of when I think of a role-playing game. And we said back when Baldur's Gate 3 launched, people were like, this is going to raise the bar and it's going to make it harder for games to compete. And a lot of like games journalists, for example, were saying, and well, specifically game devs too, were saying that, no, that's bad. We shouldn't do that. We shouldn't do that. And it's because stuff like this happens. When you have a Baldur's Gate 3, all other games that try to do it, that try to be role-playing games, feel hollow in comparison, you know, because you've tasted the forbidden fruit. You know what a real role-playing game can be like, where you can do that, or you can pursue a good run where you're trying to save everybody, where you are making a self-sacrificial choice to save them. If you do a Gale run through, you have like the ability to literally play the savior for all of life in this universe. Like it's crazy cool. But that's what a true role-playing game is like. And when you have a game, in my opinion, like Dragon Age Veilguard, which claims to be a role-playing game, but doesn't provide you that stuff, it ends up with the game feeling hollow and shallow. There could be other parts of it that are good. You know, there could be other things about Dragon Age that are good. So I'm not saying that it's like all bad, but the point is when you frame your game as a role-playing game and you don't meet that new bar, that new standard, it just will hurt public perception of it because people are going to do these comparisons. I mean, don't tell my wife because she's been playing Dragon Age and having a great time, but I played like 2 hours of Dragon Age and I reached a point, no spoilers, where I hit what was supposed to be a pretty big consequential moment. And the little wheel came up and I had the choice to say yes, maybe, but yes, and no. Well, actually, I mean yes. And it just railroaded me straight into the path that they needed me to take. And I was really frustrated and I turned off the game and I booted up Baldur's Gate again with one of my old saves where I was playing Dark Urge, and I went through the finale again just to get a taste of actual consequence and choice. And it was awesome. It was awesome. It was great. And so maybe unfortunately, the true legacy of Dragon Age Veilguard is going to be that it makes us appreciate Baldur's Gate 3 way, way more. Because for me, that's kind of what it's done. I appreciate some aspects of Dragon Age Veilguard. I really appreciate the cinematic quality, the production value, the polish is phenomenal, things like that. But other bits and pieces of it just remind me of how much I love other games for being so different. So, yeah. Am I done spoiling? Yeah. I was gonna spoil something else, but I'll be a good boy. Have you seen the video with the IRL D&D playthrough with the BG3 cast? It was posted 10 days ago on Dungeons and Dragons channel. Yes, it's very good. Everybody should watch it. I believe it's fully like copyrighted. Wizards of the Coast goes hardcore with that stuff, so I can't play it, but yeah, it's really fun. It's really, really fun. Okay. Never thought a turn-based RPG was going to wipe the shiz out of action RPGs. Truly a game changer. I think it did such a phenomenal job with choice and consequence that it really made all other games look like they weren't trying. Like, it really is impressive. The amount of player freedom is wild. And I think players voted very strongly with their wallets that they want that. They want consequence. They want choice. And if a game can't provide it, but is still calling itself an RPG, it's going to be dinged in comparison. Another big issue is the lack of progress in games. They have less mechanics and even look worse in some cases aesthetically. Yeah, I think there's also been a big shift in pursuing quantity over quality with a lot of stuff where they're trying to target bigger and bigger play times, and they're trying to really focus on scale when what players really want is quality. People will throw fits over like really short run times of like 10-15 hours. But if you have a 10-15 hour game that has a ton of narrative consequence, where there's a ton of dynamics between choosing this route and that route, it will do well. I mean, Detroit Become Human still to this day is one of the most wildly impressive games I've ever played. It's unbelievable the amount of dynamics within that game. If you've never seen how they break it down, like they will show you at the end of each sequence, at the end of each chapter, the choices you made, the choices you could have made, and they also allow you to screw up. Like you can screw up in the first chapter or two of Detroit Become Human and have one or two of the playable characters just die or be shut down, and their story is over. Just full stop. And they let you do it. They let you screw it up and miss out on their whole storyline because they know, because that's a possibility, it will make those who do not make that mistake appreciate it so much more. And that is just something that so many of these companies seem to not understand, is that you can trust your players.
Kappa Claus is now a member. Yo. Thanks for streaming during my work from home days, lol. Makes the day go by way faster.
I'm glad, Kappa. I'm glad. And thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Thank you, my friend. 17 months. Ooh, baby. Thank you, my friend. Yeah, they show you how you missed the pass in Detroit. Yeah, Detroit Become Human, again, if you have not played that game, it got memed on a little bit because there was one kind of finisher bit. Some of the writing is really heavy-handed because they tried to create all this symbolism between the androids and like Jews in Nazi Germany, and a lot of it is like really, really heavy-handed, and I think it would have been more effective if they had been lighter on how they did it, because it was just a bit much. But there's also one storyline. It's very tough to get. You have to make very specific choices, but if you get it, there's an ending where all the characters like start singing together. And a couple clips of it went viral years and years ago when it first launched, and people thought that was like the game, and it's like, no, that is a very narrow path choice to get there. But other than that, like it's really solid. It's really, really solid. Yeah, but I didn't like how some of those choices in Detroit leaves you out of choices. So if you're bad at controlling, you're done. Yeah. At least I think I know what you're saying. But I love that if you screw up, the character can die and you're screwed. Like that, it's over. And it makes you appreciate, if you get all the way through the game without any of that happening, it makes you appreciate so much more. I remember the first time I was playing with, what's her name? The female character, and Alice, the little girl. It's not Kai. Crap, what was her name? Kara. That's right, Kara. I was like, Kai, maybe? No, Kara. I remember the first time I played it, because you're trying to like escape the country with Kara and with Alice, the little girl. And going through like the border inspection thing, trying to get through their customs or whatever, was so stressful because I had never seen it. I had no idea if I could even get through here. I didn't know what choices I needed to make to get through properly. I was just doing it in real time. And it was awesome. Like, it was so stressful, but when we did make it out, I felt like $1 million. You know, it was so cool. So I really, really encourage you to go through Detroit Become Human. Go through it blind. Go through it without any guides or anything. Just go through it and see what it's like, because it's so cool. It's so cool. Do. Yeah, Kai Cenat. Imagine just swapping out Kara for Kai Cenat. That would be interesting. A very different kind of game, I think. It would play very differently. Okay. Let's do. Oh yeah, I was telling you guys about the drama with my internet service provider because they're trying to raise the price. I emailed them and I was like, "Hey, I'm really dissatisfied with this. I think it's ridiculous to do it this way. I don't want to pay $300 a month for internet when like this is ridiculous." And I told the guy, because I have a business line account, so I can tell them like I'm gonna this doesn't work for my business. I'm gonna leave and I'm gonna go work with Starlink. I was like, I'm gonna go buy a Starlink. I'm gonna do that. And they're like, well, geez, I mean, Starlink, that is an option. Because again, it's one company that I have. The only other company in my area that does internet, their top speed, I am not joking, is 1 megabit per second download upload. That's their max speed. So now they're coming back and because I'm saying I'm going to go to Starlink, which is a competitor that can work anywhere. They're like, oh shoot. So he actually knows about a competitor. So they're like, okay, well, we understand 300 a month maybe is a lot. So what if we were to offer you the chance to do 180 a month under a 3-year commitment? And I came back to it. I was like, so Xfinity is coming to my city like as we speak. They're digging under the roads. They're like building the infrastructure to come to my city. They'll be here within like a year probably. And you want me to lock in a 3-year commitment at already a very expensive price. Most people for my internet elsewhere in the US pay maybe $60, okay? Maybe 50, $60. You want me to lock in at 180 for 3 years? And I'm supposed to thank you? Like, it's better than 300 a month, but you're still screwing me over. Like, I'm well aware of that. And so I emailed them back and I was like, this is just totally unacceptable. This is unreal. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. So I shot back and I said, this is totally unacceptable. I'm not going to do a 3-year commitment. I'd be open to a 1-year commitment. But that's insane. And if you can't do better than that, I'm just going to have to go with Starlink and cancel my account with you. And I will be telling all of my business associates how poorly I was treated. And I said, I also run a media company and I'm sure the news will get out. I was like, kind of low key, like, hey guys, I've played nice, but this is like so anti-consumer. It's unbelievable. It's like, I do not have a problem with telling people on streams and videos how horrible you are. So we'll see if that works. Yeah. Karen Luke. Yeah. I mean, if they're doing this to me, imagine what they're doing to the other people in the neighborhood, the people who maybe don't have the money to eat a $300 a month internet bill. Like, it's so anti-consumer, it's unbelievable. Because they're like, what are you going to do? You're going to close your account? Go to the other guys that can offer 1 megabit per second? Like, if they're doing this to me with a business account, imagine what they're doing to the people with residential accounts. It's got to be horrible, man. And they're freaking out because they know that, like, Xfinity's coming into the city and everybody's going to swap to Xfinity. Because it's going to be way faster, way cheaper. So they're, like, freaking out right now. They know that they're screwed. But I'm like, yeah, you try to do this. I am the one who knocks. Or as Robert California says, no. You think you know who I am. Let me play it. He's going to say it way, way better. You might already know.
Well, I will not be blackmailed by some ineffectual, privileged, effete, soft-penis debutante. If you want to start a street fight with me, bring it on, but you're going to be surprised by how ugly it gets. You don't even know my real name. I'm the Lizard King.
I want to memorize that just to be able to say it to the internet guy. Some ineffective debutante. Soft penis. I will not be blackmailed by some ineffectual, privileged, defeatist, soft penis debutante. You want to start a street fight, bring it on, but you're going to be surprised by how ugly it gets. You don't even know my real name. I'm the Lizard King. And then you hang up. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Anyway, so my internet drama continues. Very sadly, but yeah, I couldn't fathom 300 a month. That's the thing. You don't have a choice. Like, they have you locked in. If you don't like it, you like the only option at this point, thankfully, is Starlink. At least that's an option. That's a thing. But if you didn't have access to Starlink, like there literally would be not be another option. Like there would be nothing you could do. So I might end up just trying Starlink because at this point it's so insane where this is priced. I know maybe it has troubles during storms and stuff, but I think at this point it'd be better than this. How much is Starlink? Starlink is like, I think $100, 120 or something. But it's month to month, and if you don't like it, you just cancel it. Will it actually work for streaming? Yeah, it's about the same upload speeds as I have right now, but it's 50 for you. I pay $60 for a gigabit. Well, that's nice. It's $50. Yeah, I think that might be a better spot. It's like $1,000 for setup. What I saw was it was like $300 for the dish, and then you have it. But my girlfriend's dad just bought all the stuff for like $700 to $1,000. I think when I saw it, it was not quite on that. Ooh, they have a business. They have a business tier. What? Okay, I didn't know they had a separate business tier. If not satisfied, get a full refund. Oh, well then why the hell would I do anything else? I could literally do a test and try streaming on it for a month. 20 to 60 millisecond latency. I think right now, most of the time, we are already at like 25 where I live. 40 to 220 megabit per second download. In my area, I think it's 150 to 250 or 200 rather is what they offer. And with my $300 a month plan right now, they're willing to do like 40 megabit per second upload as the max. So it might not even end up being that much different in performance to what I'm paying for right now, which is ridiculous, but it's crazy. From what I've heard, Starlink isn't very stable for uploading, fine for batch downloading, but stutters a lot when unbuffering or from when unbuffered streaming. Interesting. Yeah. I just don't know what else to do. Like, it's so ridiculous what they're doing. Like, it might actually end up being easier to go and rent out like an office space, move the studio there, and stream out of like downtown Fort Collins or something, out of an office space there, just because it will be way cheaper, way more stable, and everything like that. Yeah, 40 megabit per second. That's it. Boo. Dude, you're telling me I'm a YouTuber and streamer and the max I can possibly get is 40 megabit per second where I live. That's expensive real estate though. I mean, we wouldn't be buying the apartment or buying the building. Maybe we do as like an investment. Maybe that's a good idea. I don't know. But anyway, let's talk about something that happened that is insane. Connection. Yeah, there's a bunch of competition in like downtown Fort Collins. There's hardly any where I live. which sucks. Because competition makes it better. The second there's no competition, you see this type of thing where they're like, we know you can't go anywhere, so we're going to raise the price to an egregious point. And the only way we'll lower it is if you sign up for a 3-year contract. When all of our competition is getting in here in like a year. How's the snow in Foco? Laramie is getting dumped on right now. Yeah, it's coming down pretty heavy right now. I think we're expected to get 4 inches in the next few hours. How big is our team? Our team is basically me and 2 others. That's basically what we do. And one of our team members is in another state. So, you know. Yeah, 4 inches is huge. Yeah, 4 inches is like way more than I can handle. Tell you what. Somebody's going to clip that. Okay, let me catch up on these real quick. Samuel James, thank you for the 5. Once I beat The Last of Us 2, I need a palate cleanser or something lighthearted. Any suggestions? Thinking Ragnarok, Baldur's Gate 3, or Astrobot. Lighthearted, Astrobot all day, every day. As for if you want something to really sink your teeth into, Baldur's Gate 3 all day, every day. Ragnarok is good. It's very, very high production value. It's really crazy. That's also an easy recommend. I mean, all of those are good. Maybe see which one is like cheapest at the moment and tackle that, and then work your way through them, because all of those are great. Astrobot gets a little old after a while, but yeah, if you want a true palate cleanser after The Last of Us, Astrobot's a solid one. Rambling, thank you for that 5. How does Veilguard stack up against Starfield? Because anything below current Bethesda just feels closer to Ass Crack or or Horizon. Veilguard, it's way higher production value than Starfield. Like it is much more pretty. It's much better, but like it's better in some ways in that way. But it's also much tighter. It's much more narrow. Honestly, they just feel very different. Like Starfield is about just nothing but scale, and Dragon Age is about very limited scale but high production value. So they play very, very different. Very, very different. Blue Nile, do like Asmongold, open your own PC company, internet provider, capture board, building company, etc. Oh yeah, we could just do that. Yeah, I mean, if you have as much money as God, which Asmongold basically does, then you can do all of that stuff. It takes a lot of money to kickstart a business, and it's also like pretty high risk. So kickstarting like a PC building company, I mean, it's going to be a lot of cash. And you can do it, but it's going to take a while before the brand builds up. And even then your margins are really, really tight, because if somebody's like, I want to have you build a PC for me, but I see that you have graphics cards marked up to cover your costs, so I'm not going to buy a graphics card through you, because I'm going to buy it separately. So then you can't mark up the graphics cards that much, maybe $20, but it's like, you can't make a profit on having somebody build a PC and shipping it out to people on $20. You know, it's really tough to make that business make sense. Margins are super tight. D&D miniature painting business. Yeah, there's a lot of different things that you could do. There's a lot of different business ideas. The one thing I do really want to do is I want to open up like a D&D tavern. I want to open up a restaurant where you can come in, play board games, hang out with your friends. I want it to be themed to the scale of what you'd see in like a Universal Studios park. I want it to feel like when you step in the door, like you walked into a tavern, and it's dark, it's moody. Maybe there's like fire tables and torches and stuff. Like I want it to feel like you've been transported. That's what I want to do. I'd go there. Like, and then you have separate like rooms that you can rent out. So if you want to have like a private room for you and your friends to go, you could, like for a party or something, you can book a room at the tavern, and it's a private room. that's decorated like a private room within the tavern. We have the big D&D table there. We have walls full of miniatures that you can just pick up and use for your game if you need them as you're making a map on the table. You could rent a DM, so it's like hiring somebody to run a one shot for you, like a birthday themed one shot or a bachelor party themed one shot where you can all play. We could even offer a package where we have the 3D printer in the back, so if you want to have custom miniatures for your party, you can design them ahead of time, and when you show up to play, we have them 3D printed for you, painted and everything, ready for you to go. And then we could even do it where, like, you know how at some sushi places when you're ordering food you fill it out on like a piece of paper or like a little menu sheet thing, and then you set it at the end of the table, and then they come pick it up and take your order without having to ask each person and write it down. So I'm like, we could do that there too, where you have maybe like a big wood board or something, or you have a piece of paper where you can check off what you want to order. So a waiter or waitress can come in, grab that, so they don't have to interrupt the role playing going on at the D&D table, and just take that, go take your order, and then they bring the food in and the drinks in and everything for you, and they don't have to interrupt anything. Like, yeah, it's like a character sheet for food. Exactly. Like, I think it would be awesome. I think it'd be fantastic. I whenever I think of these things, I'm like, if I wanted to spend a lot of time there, I think a lot of nerds would. So, like, I want to do it. I want to do it. It would be a lot. For me, it's not really I'm confident enough in this that I think it would work. And so I'd be willing to put a lot of my savings and money into it. But the tricky bit is like having business partners, because I could not be there day in, day out managing the restaurant. Like, I couldn't do that. I'd have to kind of set up the systems how I like them and then leave it to be run by other people. So finding the talent is the tricky bit. Finding business partners is tricky. Yeah. Restaurant margins, though, that's why most of the revenue would be coming from drinks bought by people who are playing the game, because you're not going to make a lot of money on food. You're not going to make a lot of money on room rentals or anything like that. Where you're going to make the money is from people playing for 4 or 5 hours and then ordering drinks. So we'd have to do something like, you have to pre-purchase a drink or 2 drinks or something, just to make ends meet. Because markup on drinks is a lot. And the hope would be that people are having a good enough time that they order 2-3 drinks and some snacks and stuff while they're playing. And that they come back each week and they rebook every week at Thursday at 5 p.m. or something. Drink minimum, like comedy shows, something like that. Otherwise, like, the problem with, like, I was talking to a buddy and he was like, I want to like do that, but I want to do it for Warhammer. I was like, this would not work for Warhammer, where people are playing for 5 hours, 6 hours, and Warhammer people, they spend a lot of money on their hobby, but they're also weirdly stingy with money. So, like, they wouldn't want to rent the tables. They wouldn't buy food or drink. Like, they would just come in and play. I was like, I just don't think that works. What you need are the people who are coming in socially, like for a D&D campaign, where everybody's having drinks and loosening up and having a great time. Like, that's how you do it. And even if it's not like the craziest, most successful thing ever, I think it would be like, when an actor has a restaurant they open, it would just be a fun enough thing that it, even if it's not printing money, it would still be fun and still be a good place that I'd want to hang out. So anyway. New segment. Wouldn't Games Workshop be funny about it? Yeah, you'd have to not brand it specifically as like a Warhammer place. It would just be like a gaming place. But that's why you have to. There was a place called All That and a Bag of Chips where I used to, like in Old Town Fort Collins where I used to live. All That and a Bag of Chips. It shut down. Do they have pictures of it? Nope. It was a place in Old Town Fort Collins that was really, really cool. While it lasted. Yeah, r/All That and a Bag of Chips. It was this place in Old Town where you paid $5 and you got a bag with some snacks and a drink, and you got to enter a full arcade full of game consoles loaded up with games. This place was rad. Whatever happened to it? Any know what the owner is up to? Closed down in 2019-ish due to operating costs. As for Jory, the owner, last I heard he was working on developing his own games, but I haven't seen or heard anything from him in a while. It was this really, really cool kind of cyber cafe looking thing. Oh, this is a throwback. Where like you'd walk in. Funnily enough, this is the first place where I ever tried No Man's Sky. Was here. Yeah, new segment. I keep going about this one, but it was a really cool thing where like you'd walk in here. Jory, the owner, right there, he would take $5 from you if you were a dude, and you got a little bag and a soda, and you got to just go play for however long you wanted to play. And if you were a girl, you got in free, but you did not get snacks. You had to pay for the snacks. It was super cool. And then up here was all of the old stuff, old CRT TVs and stuff. And then downstairs were all the newer things with PS4s and Wii's and all sorts of stuff. And I remember it was over here that we tried No Man's Sky for the very first time, and it was super cool. But the problem was, shocker, at $5, a lot of people came in, and a lot of homeless people started using it as a place to camp out because it was open all night. So they would like beg on the street corner, get $5, pay the $5, get some snacks, and then they would go in and just sit in a chair and like sleep all night. So it eventually got to the point where it was not safe. When it first opened, kids would be there all the time. Like you can see here, like it was super cool for kids to go here. But after a while, it just didn't work anymore. Because it just started breaking down. It got dirty. It got sketchy as hell. So because it was so affordable, eventually it just got overrun, and it just didn't work. So I think you have to have it priced at a point where people like where that type of thing doesn't happen. Yeah, this is where it was. It's now Rivalry Barbershop. Yeah, we're open. So it's been replaced by this now, but this is where it used to be. And then right over there, that's CSU. That's the campus of where I went to college. So, oh yeah, this place is funny. Half Fast Subs. They also just shut down. Yeah, it was like an internet cafe, but it was really cheap, and it didn't really work. Cool idea, but it didn't really work. I remember playing Black Ops 3 with some really cool homeless dude. He effing sucked at it. That's funny. Yeah, it was a really cool idea, but it was just the basic concept of making it so cheap that anybody could come made it so anybody came, and it eventually just got to the point where it was overrun by really sketchy people. And so people didn't feel safe going there. And then a lot of the consoles were broken down, and they were always sticky and dirty, and the magic was gone. But if they were able to like relaunch where it was really well managed, everything was really clean, where they kick people out who are just sleeping, where they are kind of policing it way more, then that could be way better. But it just didn't work as it was designed. So I never understood that. Just kick/ban people destroying businesses isn't a protection issue. I mean, I think for this in Fort Collins, there is a real problem with like the homeless population. There are literally, and this sounds made up, there are literally gangs of them where they travel like 10, 15 of these people at a time together, because there's a shelter right near Old Town Fort Collins on the outskirts of the city. And they will go and like huddle up around certain businesses. There's one lady, she wrote a letter to the editor for our local newspaper, the Coloradoan, and she said, I have had homeless people sleeping outside my business, and so people are uncomfortable coming in because they literally have to step over homeless people to get inside my shop. So I asked them to leave, and I called the police on them. The police won't ticket them. The police don't tell them to go away because of the way that the certain, like the laws are written in the city right now and how the mayor enforces them. And now that like those homeless people are pissed off at the shop owner for trying to get them to move. So now they're retaliating, and all of them, like 10, 15 of them, go and camp out outside of her business and refuse to leave. Which, like, on the one hand is like a little funny, because it's like you try to get one homeless guy to go and then he brings 10 friends and now they set up camp outside your business so nobody comes in. But it's also like, this is a very nice city. She pays probably $8,000 a month, $10,000 a month for that retail space. And she's just screwed because like the police won't enforce anything, won't push people off the street if they're camping out in tents outside of her place. It's crazy. It's wild. So Colorado and Fort Collins especially really has a problem with that. It's been an issue that's been discussed a lot here, unfortunately. But anyway, what's wrong with the police and law then? There's this idea that it's not sympathetic to ask the homeless people that are loitering outside those businesses. They feel like it's unsympathetic and it's hateful to ask them to move because their lives are already hard enough as is. So like asking them to leave and move and pack up their stuff is just mean. So our mayor doesn't want to do anything about it. It's just like, no, show compassion. Let them destroy your business. And it's just, it's all fun and games until it's your business, you know, until your business is collapsing. And it's really too bad because it would be really easy to clean up, but the police are told you can't do it. Like you can't ask them to leave. You can't move them. And I don't understand it because it's not actually sympathy. Like if people are freezing to death on the streets, you're not being loving and caring by letting them freeze on the streets and not helping them. Like you're not. When I worked at a church as a janitor, it's like this big church and event venue, and in the back was like a homeless outreach thing that the church did. And so they would have homeless people come in and they could get clothes, they could get food, they could get like little hydration packs, like all sorts of stuff just to help them out. And so we would pretty regularly have homeless people coming in and you could talk to them and hang out with them a little bit. And there were a lot of really cool, interesting people that would come through. Some guys that just honestly did not love paying rent. Some people that were super paranoid, thought the government was tracking them, so they didn't want to have a job because they could be tracked. So there were some, you know, clear mental illness issues too, but there was one guy who said that he would regularly in the winter, he would go and like in full view of cameras and stuff, shoplift.
Kurt Kovacs is now a member.
Thank you, Kurt. He would shoplift because he wanted to get arrested because the jail was warmer than sleeping on the street. And I was like, how does that make sense? We're at a point where like these people are forced to commit crimes so that they can be arrested because it's warmer and safer than living on the street. And he joked with us one day and he was like, yeah, but now that's not even working. You can shoplift and they give you a pat on the back. Like, he's like, so what am I supposed to do now? Do I got to kill someone? And like, he's joking, but it's like, because they loosened all these laws on like shoplifting too. Like he can't even do that to go and spend time in jail. He's like, I have to get plastered and walk around the streets drunk, wandering into the street. So before they pick me up now. It's like, it's getting way harder. It was crazy. He was a funny guy. He was a really funny guy. Wonder whatever happened to him. But anyway, yeah. He was a funny guy. Oh man. Okay, let's talk about this actual news segment now. Sorry, we went down a rabbit hole there. Okay, news segment for real this time. This is fascinating. I was not ready for this. PlayStation has lost a big console exclusive. A big one. What, pray tell, could it be? Death Stranding. It's gone. It's not exclusive to PlayStation anymore. Hideo Kojima, not just PlayStation, I mean console exclusive. I know it was on PC, but now it's fully available everywhere. They launched it on Xbox out of nowhere. You can see Xbox right here. Death Stranding Director's Cut Xbox Series X and S Edition, Windows PC Edition on sale today at special limited time offer of 50% off. What? Like, what? Kind of came out of nowhere. What I want you to look at is the date, November 7th. Do you know, pray tell, that's apparently a phrase I like today. I keep using it. Do you know when Death Stranding originally launched? November 8th, 2019. Almost exactly 5 years ago. What this looks like to me is an exclusivity deal that has ended. I think they signed a 5-year exclusivity deal with PlayStation, and now they've regained full control of the IP after 5 years. I would not be surprised if Sony did not expect Death Stranding to be particularly successful, because let's be honest, it's insane. Like, Death Stranding is one of the weirdest, craziest things ever. Just look at the freaking poster. You're going to tell me that this was going to blow up and be like a big deal? I would not have believed you, but it did. It ended up being a pretty big thing. So I think they only signed a 5-year exclusivity deal, whereas like From Software's deal for Bloodborne, it seems like it was like a sort of perpetual deal where they still have the rights to it. But they made a 5-year deal, they locked it in, and now it has lifted and they have brought it to Xbox. So today you can buy it. Let's look it up. Death Stranding. Oh, well, they have it linked. That helps. It's published through 505 and boom. Yeah, boom. It's available for $17 dues. Can I just do this? Maybe. Does this work? Nope. Death Stranding. Let's just look up Death Stranding Director's Cut. Look at that. Look at that. $17.50. That's still in English or England. I don't know why it's routed there, but anyway, that's pretty wild. That's pretty wild. It's already on sale, so it looks like in the US it'll probably be $40, so it's probably $20 on sale right now. But I mean, it now is supported by Xbox Play Anywhere. It's optimized for Series X and S. I mean, it's wild. It's wild. People are already playing it. People are eating it up. Keep on keeping on. I did not see this coming. I don't think any of us did. I think we're all like a little shell-shocked by this, but it is out. And so now you can enjoy utter insanity like this. The game is ridiculous. Like, I understand why a lot of people don't like it. I don't like the writing in Death Stranding. I find it to be asinine, but I do find Death Stranding to be bizarrely relaxing to play and really satisfying mechanically. It's just a really good time. Whenever there's like a big snow day or a rainy day, nothing scratches that itch more than just booting up some Death Stranding and playing it and relaxing with that. Yeah, in a later update, Kojima Productions confirmed it has fully acquired all the rights to the Death Stranding franchise, specifically or significantly raising the prospect of its sequel launching on Xbox 2. This is kind of the elephant in the room because Death Stranding 2, as of right now, it's been shown off at PlayStation events, not at Xbox events. So Death Stranding 2, if we pull up one of those trailers, you can see it's uploaded to PlayStation. It's also utterly insane with like a boss fight against Troy Baker playing a guitar laser rifle. Again, this is a real game.
Something he said. You don't know a goddamn thing about Lou.
All right, Sam. Let's see what we can find on Lou.
If you want answers, you're gonna have to find them yourself. But the ones you do find, well, that pain you nurse will only get worse. Sam the man in the dark about everything.
I have no idea. It blows my brain. But that's a thing. They've shown some other stuff like at the very, very end, 2025. And then here you see PS5. Performance capture and facial solution by PlayStation Studios Visual Arts, powered by MetaHuman. I mean, they don't say clearly exclusive only on PlayStation. They have this logo that flashes, but they also did that for Hogwarts Legacy because they own the marketing rights. But the big question right now is like, is this going to also launch on Xbox? Are they also doing it there? It's a possibility. Like Death Stranding 2 could launch day and date with Xbox Series X, which a month ago sounded insane, but now that they've acquired like full rights, they can do that now. That's wild. Will it make a huge difference? Probably not, but like this is what Xbox has needed for a long time, is for these exclusivity deals to end and to start getting these big releases in parity at the same time. So people at least have an option. So people have a choice. Because once people have a choice and they know they have a choice, then they can, go where they prefer. I do think the Play Anywhere feature is a huge, huge get. People don't realize how nice that is. Being able to play on console up in the living room, but if you have a PC setup also and you want to keep playing, you can also do that. That is an awesome feature that Xbox has, that as of right now, PlayStation doesn't have anything to compete with. If they launch their own launcher, they could potentially integrate that where you buy it through PlayStation and you could play it on PC or on PS5. But as for this right now, like I think that that's a huge benefit to buying a game through Xbox, a really convincing thing. So that's breaking news. I don't think anybody saw that coming, but here it is. I mean, here we are. Okay. End of segment. What about PlayStation Portal? Well, it's not the same. Like the point is that with the Xbox Play Anywhere, you can buy it on Xbox, play it on your console. You can play it through xCloud on your phone, and then you can go and you can play it on your PC with boosted graphics and everything else there. Like there's nothing comparable on PlayStation. The Portal lets you stream from your PlayStation to a handheld. That's fine, but it's nowhere near as nice of an offering as what Play Anywhere gives you. Okay. Kurt, again, thank you for the membership. Sad Boy, thank you for the 2. Have you read Business Secrets of the Pharaohs? I have not. Business Secrets of the Pharaohs. What is that? Perfect appreciates Peep Show franchise, TV props, memorabilia. I'm scared now to look into that because it looks, I see Peep Show in the title, so I'm scared. I'm scared to Google that further. Let's see. Thank you for that. James Spader is great, especially in Blacklist. Yeah, I do love his performances. In The Office, he was really, really good. Kino Man Sky, thank you for that. Your best video game scene? Mine, Ashtray Maze Control. I mean, there's a lot of options. Like I love the finale of Arthur's storyline in Red Dead. I love the Thor fight in God of War Ragnarok is badass. Like, especially the part where, like, you think you die and then he restarts it, takes it out of the menu because it's like, I'm not done with you yet. That thing is so cool. There's so many good sequences. There's a lot of options. Okay. Thank you for that, guys. Loxy, also thank you for resubbing at tier 1 over on Twitch. Thank you, my friend. I don't like the writing of any Hideo games. He's just too weird for me. I think a lot of people are in that spot. When I was trying to play Death Stranding initially, I tried to like take the story really seriously, and I couldn't do it. Like, the more I thought about the story, the more I tried to like really get into it. It just didn't work for me. But once you kind of turn your brain off to it and just like enjoy the game for the game side of it, you can have a good time. I just stopped trying to understand it because I think it's just, you can understand what a character is trying to say after 15 seconds of the dialogue, and then there's just another 10 minutes of rambling. So if you just cut out the rambling, you're fine. You can appreciate the story and understand what's going on. But I just think it's really self-indulgent writing. Hunter Tank 95, thank you also for subbing with Prime. Thank you for that, my friend. Exile, thank you for popping by, my friend. Good to see you again. He needs an editor. I totally agree. He goes too hard. Okay. Let's talk about this one. There is an update to the Pal World lawsuit from Nintendo. I feel like I'm missing something here because I feel like there's a piece of this puzzle that I'm not privy to, but we'll talk about it. Exile, thank you.
Months. That's a long time.
37 months. Exile's been subbed over on Twitch. That is crazy. Pogs in the chat. 37 months. Over 3 years. That's crazy, dude. That's crazy. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Glad to have you. Okay, let me show you, because I feel like I might be out of the loop on this, but on November 8th, Pocket Pair announced the Pokemon Company and Nintendo are demanding 10 million yen, or roughly $66,000, which will be split between both companies, plus late payment damages. This comes after the Pokemon Company filed a patent infringement lawsuit against Pocket Pair back in September 19th of 2024. The suit aims to seek compensation for damages that Pocket Pair allegedly caused as a result of the infringement of the Pokemon IP. Quote, this lawsuit seeks an injunction against infringement and compensation for damages on the ground that Pal World, a game developed by the defendant, infringed multiple patent rights, they wrote in their press release. They have not disclosed the specific infringement like details. Neither company's revealed those details. Experts believe one of the 3 patents infringed revolves around throwing an item to catch a monster. Giving their update, Pocket Pair explained, quote, the plaintiffs claim that Pal World, released by us on January 19th of 2024, infringes upon the following 3 patents held by the plaintiffs and are seeking an injunction against the game and compensation for a portion of the damages incurred between the date of registration of the patents and the date of filing for this lawsuit. They continued, quote, we will continue to assert our position in this case through future legal proceedings. The developer also noted that they will now refrain from responding to individual inquiries regarding the case. If any matters arise that require public notice, we will announce them on our website, etc. I think there's two pieces to this. For one, they are demanding $66,000 roughly, which is shockingly low, right? Like, that's not that many copies of Pal World, and Pal World sold a lot. So there's that. This really is not much. The key here is that they specifically are seeking an injunction, which could lead to, there's different meanings behind that, but like it could easily lead to the game being discontinued from sale, them shutting it down. But more than anything, it sounds to me like they would be seeking a precedent. If they can get them to pay this out, then there's potentially a precedent for future claims against Pal World specifically, or other companies that try to do similar things. The other piece of this is that we don't know the specific details of the infringement. So for example, like a lot of these lawsuits, at least in the States, they require specific damages to be described. So if I'm going to sue you for doing something, for infringing on something, I have to, if I'm seeking monetary damages or compensation, I have to be able to say what, like how I was harmed, what you did. So if it was like, somebody was, another YouTuber made an AI avatar of me and started making videos where they pretended to be me, and they were making videos that I would have made otherwise, and that cost me the like monetization of those videos and other like exposure of those videos. I could then do some math on how much my videos would have made if they had not been infringed in that way, and the amount of money I lost, and then I could sue for that damage. And then you could also seek like punitive damages also to make a point, but that's usually tougher to get. Here, for whatever reason, they think that they have garnered roughly $60,000 in damages, which is not a lot. So I'm really wondering what their arguments are in court, because it's such a low amount of money. My guess would be they are spending more money than that on lawyers by a pretty sizable margin. That would be my guess, is that they are spending a lot. And so even if they get this payout, I don't think they're ending up ahead or anything. This is more to make a point. And I think that they pretty clearly are seeking the precedent more than they're seeking the actual like payout. They want to get the foundation laid for future lawsuits going after people for these types of infringements. And I think that's sucky. I think that just is lame, because I don't think you should be able to patent gameplay mechanics. Like, that to me seems so anti-competitive. That seems so stupid to me. But they've been allowed to do it. They've been allowed to patent things like the Nemesis system from the Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War games. They were allowed to patent that, and now Pokemon and Nintendo, they're trying to patent things like throwing balls to capture monsters. That's crazy. Like, I understand it's sort of a well-known Pokemon mechanic, but I think that, again, enabling a company to lock down a gameplay mechanic is such a mess. Like, what are we going to do? Like, Call of Duty's going to patent reloading guns? Like, I don't think we want to start playing this game. Is this filed in Japan? Yeah. So that's where there's nuance that I'm not aware of, because I'm not Japanese. I don't know Japanese laws or rules around this stuff. So there might be, this might be a slam dunk in Japanese courts. It might be way more complicated in Japanese courts. But I do think it's interesting that they've only filed it there, and they're not trying to file it in different courts around the world. Because I think in the US, this lawsuit would flop on its face. And I think they know that, which is why they didn't bother trying it. So they're trying, they're still doing it. I mean, I see this, that's it. Just pay that shiz and move on. I think the point is you can't just pay it. This is what they're seeking out of the court. So if Pal World's lawyers went to them and said, okay, we're willing to pay that just to shut this down, the judge, at least in the US systems, the judge could basically say, okay, we're going to resolve the case, and that becomes a legal precedent for future cases that they can look on. And that's, again, like, oh, so they were willing to agree, they infringed on this, and therefore they need to pay monetary damages. That means next year when they release Pal World 2 or whatever, they can get sued again. And there's now a precedent that judges and people can point to and be like, yeah, see, back then they already agreed that they infringed and then they paid us money for damages on infringing it. So see, they agreed with us back then. That's why even though the money is low, it's not really about that payout. It's about the precedent. And that's why I would not go along and pay it. Even though it's not that much money in the context of how much they made, I would not acquiesce, which it doesn't seem like they are. It seems like they're going to continue to fight and negotiate. And the only way they should is if they can pay that out while agreeing that they made no mistakes, while agreeing that, while admitting no guilt. You know, I think that that's the only way to do this. Apple's done that before. Google's done that before, where they will plead in a lawsuit, like basically an Alford plea, where they'll say, we are not admitting guilt. We're not saying we did anything wrong, but we're going to pay out on this class action lawsuit or something. And the victims get their payouts and are happy. But yeah, I think that that's the key. Whether Nintendo allows that, I doubt it. Because again, I think the only thing Nintendo's interested in is that precedent. So we'll keep an eye on it, but I don't think that they're gonna pay it out or agree to that unless they can say we didn't do anything wrong, but we're just paying this to go away. But I don't think Nintendo's gonna let that happen. Okay. Blake says, with $2, you're my Princess Beach. Thank you. Samaya, it's funny, in Yakuza Infinite Wealth, you have to catch a Sujimon, which is inspired by Pokemon. To be fair, Sujimon don't look like Pokemon. Yeah, but even that, like, if you allow the precedent that you can copyright certain things for, like, oh, you have to go and capture a monster. Like, even that is something that they could file a lawsuit over. Like, it's just, they shouldn't do this. They shouldn't even start this. It's such a mess. They really shouldn't. Let's see. Minral, thank you for that super chat. Man, shout out to you for all the gaming news. P.S. I'm jealous of your setup. Haha, much love from India. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you. And yeah, it's pretty Gucci. Thank you. I only get to do this and I only get to have all this stuff because of you wonderful people. So truly, thank you for making my dreams a reality. Nissan, thank you for that. Nintendo will patent video games if given the choice. Video game equivalent of Yakuza. Friendly kid appearance is just a corpo shield. Yeah, I really think that's the thing. Nintendo are some of the most cutthroat, hardcore corporate sharks you'll ever meet. They're not your friend. Like, they make silly, goofy games, but they are some of the most cutthroat people you'll ever see on the corporate stage. Like, they've tried previously to silence criticisms. There were all sorts of stories years ago of like YouTubers making critical reviews and then having having copyright claims filed against them to shut it down, but all the positive videos somehow didn't get copyright claims. Like, there's all sorts of stories that are pretty horrifying, but everybody's like, well, but it's Nintendo. What about Mario? And people just ignore it. But like Nintendo, they're not, yeah, it's like Japanese Disney. Yeah, they have a positive image somehow. But once you look under the hood, like, it's pretty horrifying. they're not, you know, it's not a company run by Mario. It's pretty hardcore. They do not mess around. Let's see. Let's talk about this real quick. News segment. Sony president, COO, and CFO Hiroki Totoki says PlayStation needs to have more detailed checks and gates, such as more user tests, to prevent situations like Concord from happening again. This guy, I've talked about him plenty before. He is the man behind like the shift in PlayStation over the last year or so. What happened is he was brought in late last year, it seems, to do a comprehensive analysis of PlayStation as their new CFO. And so he looked at PlayStation and he ran through the numbers. All the while they're finishing up Concord and all that. He is not a gamer. He doesn't know what a good video game is versus a bad one. What he knows are the numbers. He knows the business side of it. He knows what he's looking for when it comes to margin, when he is coming to profitability, expansion, cap rates, all that. He's the numbers guy. And he came into PlayStation and he was livid with everything. What he came in and saw was a corporate nightmare with a business like gaming. Whenever you have console generations, that's sort of a reset, okay? So with all of these different projects, the goal for each of them should be to increase margins as time goes by. So if you have, say, the PlayStation 5 and, you're selling it at a flat rate of $500, but you spend all this money on it, and we say that you're generating, this amount of money over time. You might initially start with negative margins. Okay, this red line is your margin. So you might start losing money. You're losing money in here. You're selling the console at a loss, but you're going to make it up on the back end because you're going to sell software, right? So your goal is to, you can eat that. You can have negative margins initially, but eventually this needs to spread and you need to start making more and more money. This needs to get bigger as time goes by. The margins need to widen as it becomes cheaper to produce the consoles, as you get more and more games out there, a larger install base that's downloading more games, which is what we see traditionally with like the Nintendo Switch. There were plenty of reports that initially the Switch was sold at a loss. It was sold for $300 and it cost them like $330 to get to users, to ship it, to manufacture, market it, all of that. But over time it became cheaper and it started costing them like maybe $215, maybe $180 as the years went by. And then also the user base was getting so huge that people were buying more and more games, and they were buying games through the digital store place where they had tons of markup and where they had a ton of margin. So over the Nintendo Switch's life, it started negative, but it ended up with a huge margin on the back end. And it was great. And it's made them tons and tons of money. What Hiroki Totoki saw when he came in to PlayStation and analyzed their books as part of this corporate oversight check on it, he did not see this red line. What he saw was something more like this, we'll say yellow line. So he saw that they started here and then they started making progress, but then the margins started tightening. And this is not at all what you should be seeing. And the story and reports that were coming out at the time was, we are at 6% margin. So the gap between these two lines represents 6% when he did his analysis. So, not where you want to be. For each dollar, they're making 6 cents, not where you want to be. And at that point in the generation, based on previous generational performance, they should have been at 20% margin across the whole PlayStation business. Some areas it's going to be more than others. On the store, it might be 30. On the consoles, it might be 5. It's going to be different. But across the business, it should be 20 at this point in the generation, but they were only down at 6. And so this guy comes in and is like, what are we doing? Something has gone horribly wrong. How you get to this is either your margins are really tight and you're not selling games for enough money, or you're spending way too much money, because that's how you increase margins. You either charge more, this is our margin box. You either charge more, which means that your cost, if it's $5 and you're selling it for $5, that's going to come out to a 0% margin, right? So you can change this by increasing the price you sell it for. Sell it for $7, you just made $2. Easy peasy. Or you cut costs and you still sell it for $5, but maybe you can make your little widget for $3, in which case you're still at that $2 margin, right? So to be at 6% when you should be at 20 means that either your top line is too big, or it means your bottom line, or your top line is too small, or your bottom line is too big. And it was definitely this. A little alien wearing a human mask named Jim Ryan. He was spending like his life depended on it. He was greenlighting billions of dollars in acquisitions, which for PlayStation is not that easy to do. I mean, PlayStation is not a Microsoft at all. Microsoft is gigantic, and they're worth like $3 trillion with a T. Okay? With a T. $3,000 billion, effectively. Massive. And so they can spend $7 billion on an acquisition, and it's not that big of a deal. It really isn't. Like, they can eat it, and even if it doesn't go super well, they're okay. For Jim, spending $3.5 billion on a company like Bungie is a massive deal, and they need to be sure that that's going to work out. Greenlighting $200 million on an acquisition of Firewalk for an upcoming 5v5 hero shooter is a huge, huge deal. That's a big deal. I mean, that takes a lot. And you got to be very confident that that's going to work, and at the very least return that revenue and return return that cost and bring the money back. And so his excessive spending was driving margins down because more money was being spent than was being made. And that was starting to really, really tighten the numbers, even as other things were growing. They've seen other growth in other areas. They've seen growth in like subscription spending, for example. People are spending more money on PlayStation Plus than they ever have before. People are spending more money on digital sales of games through the PlayStation Store than they are on physical sales, which also widens their margins and helps them. They make a lot more money that way than if you buy physical. So they were making a lot more money elsewhere, but they were hemorrhaging money in all of these other projects, which were these live service pursuits, which I think we all know have not really gone many places. They've had one success, which was Helldivers 2, which seemingly took them by surprise, which is why it was not over monetized out the ass. They didn't really expect it to blow up in the way that it did. And so they continue to double down. All the while, we've seen Bungie continue to hemorrhage money. They've had one good expansion, but one good expansion does not pay for 5 terrible ones that lost a ton of money. So they kept losing money. The Bungie acquisition was seemingly a massive mistake. They have lost so much money on them. It's unbelievable. So Hiroki Totoki looks at all this, he looks at the numbers, and he's like, hey, Jim, what is this? And I imagine basically, like, you know, at the end of the Hunger Games, let me see if I can find the picture. You know, at the very end of the Hunger Games, where the game master comes in and sees the bowl that's been left for him, and it's the berries that are poisoned. I imagine something like this happened to Jim Ryan. He came into the office and he sees this bowl of poisoned berries, and the message is, you're done. Like, you screwed this up. You can either take this and head out yourself, or we're going to do it. You know? Yeah, this is the Moist Critical movie. Yeah. So I think what happened is that Jim was basically told, you screwed this up. You're going to retire, right? You really don't like those long flights between London and Japan. You really want to spend more time with your family, right? And Jim was like, oh, yes, bloody well. Yes, I do. Cheerio. Whatever. I can't do a Jim Ryan impersonation. I've said before, he looks like an alien wearing a human mask, so maybe it should be Zorton, Clip Clop, Zombo, and then he like beep boops out of the room. That's probably what happened. So I don't think it's a coincidence that Jim Ryan happened to retire at the exact moment that Hiroki Totoki comes in and does an overarching review of their financials. I think that that's pretty, there's not a lot of coincidences in corporate, in the corporate world. A lot of the time, if you think there's a connection, there is. This is why I was able to predict the acquisition of ZeniMax. It's why it was very clear what was happening with Activision Blizzard when Bobby Kotick started talking about his buddy-buddy relationship with Phil Spencer. There's not a lot of coincidences in the corporate world. And I think in this case, it's pretty clear what happened to Jim. He screwed the business up, and Hiroki Totoki was like, this isn't working out. I think you're tired. I think you need to go spend time with your family. I think that's what happened. And he was offered the berries. And then, we saw the launch at the same time. We saw cancellations. We saw cancellations of the Last of Us Online game. Behind the scenes, there were cancellations of multiple projects that never saw the light of day. Because you remember they said they were working on 12 live service games. Now it's down to 6. And a lot of them we never saw. So there were a lot of other ones behind the scenes that were canned that we still have not heard about. So I think Hiroki Totoki came in and was like, we're going to clean this up. And he was being told by Herman Hulst, well, we have Concord, and that is going to be amazing. So don't cancel that one. It's basically done. We're going to put it out this summer. So just wait. It's going to be awesome. And so they didn't cancel that one. They waited on that, and it ended up being an unmitigated disaster. Somehow, though, Herman Hulst still has a job. And I don't know how on earth that happened, but he still has a job somehow. And they're continuing to double down on the live service stuff. However, they canceled Concord fully after backing out of it. It looked like they were about to relaunch it because you remember there were stories of Concord being worked on the back end. There were still updates coming to the Steam version of the game. And so people were still working on it. They were sending out updates. And it seemed like they were preparing for a free-to-play launch, that they were going to launch it free-to-play and try to make some money back that way. They were going to introduce a bigger game store and try to monetize it that way. And then the ruling came down that, nope, it's done. We're out. No more. And they shut down the studio. They shut down the game. And now, amazingly enough, Concord, which we played just months ago, Concord is now lost media. Isn't that crazy? I still have it installed on my PS5. But it's lost media. It's gone. You can't play it. How crazy is that? It's wild. I mean, at the very least, shout out to the fan who sent me that Concord t-shirt. That thing's awesome. So the best thing that came out of this. But I think that there have been a lot of screw ups behind the scenes at PlayStation. We probably are only going to hear about in a few years. I think there's a lot more stuff happening behind the scenes that we still don't know. And if we saw Concord and if Fair Games ends up, that's not the right name. Fair Game $, if that ends up seeing the light of day, just imagine how bad some of the stuff that was canceled was going to be. This is what I always tell people. I'm like, they cancel a lot of these games and people often are really bummed about it. Star Wars 1313. We hear these stories about that stuff and we're like, that was such a waste. I wanted that game so bad. Remember, these companies are willing to put out a lot of garbage. So how bad does a game have to be for them to cancel it? The Last of Us Online game. They worked on that for 4 years. They were working on it as far back as 2019 when it was still supposed to ship with the base game. And they decided to cancel that after all that time. If they thought they could make a single dollar on it, you think that they would have put it out instead of just canning it. The fact that they just shut it down and it never was even revealed really makes you question, what was it like? It might have been cool in some aspects, but what was so horrifying that they couldn't handle? Moroccan Mulch, isn't that a bad argument about 1313 since Disney canned everything when it got Star Wars? Yeah. No, you're totally right. 1313 is not a great example because that basically Bob Iger came in and Bob Iger was I don't think we should be making our own video games anymore. We should outsource everything to EA. They do it better. And so he just canned everything. There was a Pirates of the Caribbean game that also is like lost media. That was like shown off. People saw it. Armada of the Damned, I believe, is what it was called. Is this it? Yeah, 2010, I think. Like, these games were shown off and never saw the light of day. I made a video on it that Jacob and I worked on. The video tanked and didn't do super well, which is too bad because I was really proud of it. But they showed off all this crazy stuff. They showed off gameplay. It was gonna be Black Flag before Black Flag. And this thing like never saw the light of day. It got canned and destroyed, and it's such a waste. Such a waste. But yeah, I agree. I think Star Wars 1313 is not a great example. Maybe a better example is like the cancellation of the Last of Us game, you know. Couldn't have been worse than Skull and Bones. Dude, Skull and Bones still is like apparently making money. It's not like they're never going to make back all the money they spent on it, but apparently like it has a pretty hardcore fan base, which is wild to me. But anyway, but to circle back to all of this, to the central point that we were making, Hiroki Totoki has said, quote, "We need to repeat those gates more so that we could have caught and determine whether that will be accepted by the users or not. We need to have more information that will enable us to make more sound decisions. Looking back at the past, I think we need to go back to the basics and make it really stronger." Quote, "We should have done those gates much earlier than we did. Also, we have a siloed organization. So going beyond the boundaries of those organizations in terms of development and also sales, that could have been much smoother." Says they also need to select the right launch window while looking at other first and third party titles as to maximize and not cannibalize sales, which is true. But basically, like, they want to have some checks and balances and things set up in a way where they do not have a game like Concord come out where it's just so totally not in touch. So totally not in touch with anybody. If you had talked to any casual gamer, they would have told you that Concord was a bad idea. How did it end up getting $400 million thrown at it then? And it's because, like, those people that were making those choices had no idea what they were doing. They were out of touch with the base. And their goal, Hiroki Totoki's goal, is to have more checks and balances in place so they can find out whether this is a good idea years before they end up wasting tons of money. Which is what a good manager does. A good manager should look at something like Concord and be like, how the hell did this happen? It wasn't like it sold disappointingly. It didn't sell. It was not that it didn't connect with as many people as we wanted. It didn't connect with anybody. On the grand scheme of live service games, it was a cataclysmic failure. Like, there literally is nothing even comparable on this scale. Lawbreakers, there were people that really loved the gameplay and thought that it was really compelling. It just launched at a weird time where it was right next to Overwatch, and they didn't know how to market it next to Overwatch, and so it flopped and failed. But that did not have anywhere near the amount of money and investment behind it as Concord, you know? And more than anything, I think Doc Glock is right. I think that there was something that happened with Concord where it was turned into an example. It was almost like sacrificed at the altar of gaming, where people wanted to like demonstrate that it was like, this is we want to reject this. This symbolizes everything that we hate about modern gaming, you know? And that's what's great about it. Yeah. Anyway, We'll keep an eye on it. They're going to continue pushing out live service stuff. They have more live service stuff planned. They have a big ol' launch of Fair Game $sign set up. So we'll see about that. Yeah, just so everybody knows, if you post the same message multiple times, it's like you're gonna get timed out or banned or whatever. Like it's just, that's how it is. Yeah, don't worry, they have more flops planned. I don't know how on earth you look at Fair Game $sign and think it has any potential. You search Fair Game $sign, you see my video, you see Asmongold's video, Concord 2.0. Does Sony have a hit on their hands? Oh, I'm curious about this. Does somebody...
Hey guys, what's up? Spectre here. Today I'll be discussing a game announced at the recent PlayStation Showcase, Fair Games. This slick-looking competitive
Fair Game $sign technically, but
based experience really got me excited with its premise and art style, so I'll be boiling down all the details just for you. Let's jump into it. First, a bit about the people bringing you the game. Fair Games is coming out of Haven Studios, founded in 2021 by Jade Raymond, who's a former Ubisoft executive, working on titles like Assassin's Creed as well as Watch Dogs, which really lends to the overall style that I'm sort of noticing in the trailer.
What everybody said is like, you can take the you can take the developers out of Ubisoft, you can't take the Ubisoft out of the devs, and I think that's actually kind of accurate, because you look at it and you're like, really? Like, it looks just like it. Like it's really honestly kind of impressive how similar to like Watch Dogs it appears. Let me just fix this. Okay. Yeah, it's honestly, it's kind of impressive. It really is.
Based out of Montreal, Canada, was acquired by Sony, sort of noticing in the trailer. The studio, based out of Montreal, Canada, was acquired by Sony in 2022. Lead system architect Mark Cerny began working with them closely on research and development around the same time. A lot of people are comparing this to Payday with some Watch Dogs-esque Eat the Rich flair. Not much is known about the actual gameplay, but it's alluded to that we'll be performing heists and chasing after loot in beautiful futuristic mansions. Now, whether or not that loot will then be usable in other heists remains to be seen. This seems to be an entirely multiplayer-focused title, and Haven Studios' creative director, Matthew Leduc, had this to say about the game. As huge fans of competitive multiplayer experiences, Fair Games came from a desire to create a new type of PvP game with emergent sandbox gameplay. We wanted to deliver a fresh multiplayer experience that rewards creativity and mastery and delivers surprising stories each and every time you play. We'll have to wait to learn more about Fair Games, but another detail that we do already know is that it's coming to PS5 and PC, although there hasn't been any mention of crossplay just yet. And that's it for this quick news update for Fair Games. Are you excited? Doubtful? Would you like to see more coverage of this title going forward? All my sources for this story are listed below, as well as the original trailer, so you can go check that out for yourselves if you haven't seen the whole thing. Let me know how
it's honestly a fine news update kind of video. I was hoping it would be more like, this looks amazing, but not really. I think it's some of the comments, art style, it's the same Zoomer art they've been using for every game. Does Sony have a hit on their hands? Are you serious? No, you are joking, right? Former Ubisoft executive, because Ubisoft is doing so well, garbage in, garbage out. Copy and paste of the finals, Concord flashbacks, another Concord, this aged poorly. That's not hard. No, they don't. When the sentiment is this bad, again, as I've said 1,000 times, perception is the reality you have to deal with. They have to deal with the perception that everybody assumes this is just another soulless live service game. And as I've said many times, I think the real like rotten core of a lot of like modern gaming is this sort of like lecturing, pandering style of writing and design where like they assume that you and I are stupid. Like, this is a game about robbing the rich and like eating the rich, right? And it is being designed and put out by a multi-billion-dollar corporation. And they just assume that you're not aware of that. Like they're trusting that you're not aware of it. Because the whole concept doesn't make any damned sense when you think about it for 2 seconds. You're like, so we're players like eating the rich. Yeah. And there's reporting suggesting that this is going to be a $40 premium multiplayer experience. Like, again, do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I'm not aware? Like, what are you talking about? And like, that's the perception that they've got to overcome, is that this is another out of touch, bizarre, like attempt at quick live service cash, and that players will be willing to spend money on it because they're eating the rich while spending money with a multi-billion-dollar corporation. It doesn't make any damn sense at all. It's really, really bizarre. And again, I don't think you can find a single positive comment. You want to know about us? No. You sure want to go through with this after Concord, Sony? Dude, after Concord, people came back to this trailer to flame it more. Fair Games, F the Rich. Also Fair Games, hey Sony, mind sponsoring us? Yeah, dude, literally. Eat the Rich, $800 console without a disc drive by default. You can actually feel Sony sweating nervously through the screen. Sony is not looking for Game of the Year. Sony's looking to break the 12-day record. Eat the rich, everyone, said the giant corporation. Also, please buy our overpriced battle pass and microtransactions. Gamers, Concord is the biggest flop in history. Sony. But wait, there's more. Yeah, so one of the things that guy alluded to in the video, though, is that Mark Cerny met with them shortly after they were like brought into the fold to work on tech stuff. And that apparently, reportedly, is because Sony views this studio primarily as a like a tech company. They view it mostly in that way. So they are hoping Fair Games is successful, but apparently most of what that studio is known for and has built themselves up over is the tech that they have. So if we go to like the studio website, Haven, I've shown you guys this before, but it's Haven. And if you go to like their culture or their blog, most of their stuff is about adapting Stable Diffusion to create RGBA imagery, machine learning, posted in December. Training a modified VAE decoder along with fine-tuning against modified noise enables the creation of transparent output images. Generates images from text input while we see it. Like, their big thing is AI, is generative AI. It's like, this is why Sony's interested in them. They have a lot of Google engineers and former people from Google working here that are working on utilizing these different tools for faster content production. So I fully expect Fair Game $ is not just going to be kind of a mediocre game. I also think it's going to be the first big PlayStation game that utilizes a ton of like generative AI stuff. So far, they haven't really used it much. But this is one of Haven's like big things, is that they have this crazy cloud tech that they can use generative AI stuff to create all sorts of like cool different things. Their website is also really weirdly built. See Mark Cerny there. Cloud game development with like really early generative AI pictures and stuff. This is from July of 2022. So since Sony bought them, their goal was to be a cloud native studio from day one, founded with the idea that the cloud could be a game changer for game development, particularly for a brand new studio kicking off remotely in the middle of a pandemic. Like their whole goal, it's so funny seeing these really bad AI images from just like a couple years ago, but their goal has been from the very beginning to use AI to speed up production and stuff. So I fully expect there's going to be like generative AI features in here. It's going to be stuff like, you say AI skins, it may unironically be that like you can put text into a bubble and say, I want a skin that looks like this, and it will generate one, and then you can buy it for $10. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they're doing. They're working on something like that. And whether that works or not, who knows? I mean, I think most people are going to be like, big boobs, Todd Howard, Hideo Kojima, like mommy uppies. I think it's going to be a lot of stuff like that. And maybe that works. I don't know. It's really, really going to be interesting. Because once they open this can of worms, oh yeah, the making Hitler skins and stuff. Yeah, dude, it's going to be a lot of stuff like that. And people will find ways around it. So like they'll probably have a Hitler like tag that you can't type into the chat. And so they'll find ways around it where they're like, oh, Charlie Chaplin with a toothbrush mustache. And, you know, they'll do something like that to get around it because people do. And then it's like, okay, well, you did that. You bought it for $10. Can Sony take that away from you now? Or do they automatically refund you when it's reported? Like there's going to be a lot of stuff that people do with that. Once they open this can of worms, it's going to be really, really hard to shut it again. And I'm telling you, like, the game's going to flop by itself if it's already like this, if it's already what it appears to be, just in a game form. But if it's also paired with all this, like, generative AI kind of lazy content that they're trying to use to monetize it, that doesn't end well. Do you think they'll cancel Fair Games? No, apparently the reporting is that they are very confident in it. They're very confident it will be a success, which is funny because they said the same exact thing about Concord. So they're like, yeah, we failed at Concord, but this one is going to be a success. Why they feel so differently about this one, I don't know, but they apparently feel different. They think that this one is going to pop off. And maybe it does. We haven't seen the actual like game in action, but as of right now, I have no reason to think that it's going to be more successful than Concord. Because this one has AI, which is a buzzword. Yeah. Well, it's like, it's the most brain dead, like corpo thing ever when people are like, I just heard, I hear the word or the term AI, and therefore it's going to be super successful. And it's just such a brain dead way of doing business. Business, it's not about the sheer buzzword. Like, to his credit, do you know which CEO? Well, let me context. OpenAI, the guys behind ChatGPT, they opened up for a round of funding from big corporations like NVIDIA, for example, where they can throw billions of dollars at OpenAI to get a little piece of the pie before they eventually go public or whatever ends up happening. And do you know the one CEO, corporate CEO, that, I think I told you guys this already, the one corporate CEO that refused to give them money because he thought they were overvalued, and he thought that the AI valuations they were giving themselves were ridiculous? Do you know the one CEO that was not willing to hop on board the AI buzz hype pricing? Elon? Nope. EA? Nope. Yeah, it was Mr. Cook, Mr. Tim Cook from Apple. Apple's the only one of those big corporations that did not give them money because he did not think the valuation was fair. He thought it was way too much what they were saying they were worth. Now, maybe he ends up regretting that. Maybe he ends up looking back at it in 10 years and is like, what was I thinking? We could have made so much money on that investment. But yeah, Tim Apple chose not to do it. He thought the valuation was ridiculous. So somebody's going to be right. You know, somebody's going to be right at the end of this, whether it's Microsoft throwing tons of money at it, or if it's Apple thinking that their valuations are way too aggressive, but time will tell. Then they cram their own AI into iPad minis. What's crazy is Apple depends on OpenAI for their AI stuff. All of those new iOS, whatever, 16, 18, whatever they're on now. All of the new AI tools and stuff depend on OpenAI. And Apple reportedly is working on their own AI stuff. They're trying to come up with something. But the problem is most of the AI stuff that you've heard of depends on a very particular chip, very particular thing, which is called the NVIDIA H100. And it's a crazy enterprise level thing. I mean, it's not something you are going to be able to buy. Like you can see that they have pricing with this company based on the hour utilization. CoreWeave, this thing, yeah. So extraordinary performance, scalability, and security for every data center. These are the things that like xAI integrated into their stuff for the X platform and for Grok. So like xAI H100. Let me see if I can find this story. xAI's 100K computing cluster goes online, currently the largest in the world. Nice work by xAI team, X team, and NVIDIA supporting companies getting Memphis supercluster trained, starting at 4:20 local time, giggity. With 100K liquid-cooled H100s on a single RDMA fabric, it's the most powerful AI training cluster in the world. This is a significant advantage in training the world's most powerful AI by every metric by December this year. And this, like, Jensen, who is the CEO of NVIDIA, he was saying that this would normally take a company like 4 years to implement. And Elon Musk did it in the span of like a couple months. It's ridiculous. So, Apple, like if they want to use NVIDIA's cards and chips and stuff to run this themselves, they can do that. But Apple's whole thing has been that they make their own silicon. And the reason NVIDIA is worth so much right now is because their H100 chips are so far ahead of everybody else's that there's just nothing even remotely competitive about it. So until AMD or NVIDIA gets anything, or Apple rather, gets anything remotely competitive, it's going to be really, really interesting. Apple, they don't manufacture their own silicon. They design it in partnership with, I think, TSMC. I think they're the ones that make their silicon. Maybe Samsung does some. What about Intel? Intel is having a bad time. Like a really bad time. They have, dude, this is funny. Intel says it's bringing back free office coffee to boost morale after a rough year. Yeah, they've had a really rough year. They are being like struck from the Dow. Like they're being removed from all of that, which is crazy. Like absolutely insane, but that's apparently where they're at. That's apparently going to happen. Let's see, what was it? It was. Let me just show you. Let me show you. Come here, take a seat. Take a seat right over here. Yeah, year to date. year to date, they're down 45%. They're being kicked off the Dow, I believe. Intel posts a $16.6 billion quarterly loss. There's not a lot of companies that that can lose $16 billion in a quarter. Like, this is them recently. September quarter. They took in $14 billion in revenue, made $300 million. Oh, this one they made $2.6 billion. Oh, they lost $380 million. Oh, they lost $1.6 billion. Oh God, they lost $16 billion. Like, Intel is a flailing corpse at this point. So they're in trouble. They're just a prime example of a company that had the worst, like, big picture guidance and ideas for a few of the most transformative years, and now they're just totally screwed because of it. So anyway, that's the whole thing. Isn't that partly due to investing with new fabs compete with TSMC? Yeah, they're not just burning money, like doing nothing. They're spending a lot of money, which is why they've not totally gone belly up. And most of these, like, foundries cost, $5-10 billion. But the point is, like, this should have been done 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And so now they're playing catch up, and investors are like, okay, when you're caught up, we'll come back and we might invest. But right now you are playing catch up to AMD and to NVIDIA and these other competitors and TSMC, and like, you're just not holding a candle to them. So what's game of the year this year, you think? That's a good way to wrap it up, I guess. I think for me, my game of the year is probably Metaphor ReFantazio. I just don't see anything else beating it out. I don't expect Indiana Jones to be a 10 out of 10 masterpiece. Call me crazy. What do I think will win it at the Game Awards? Probably Final Fantasy VII Rebirth probably takes it. Stalker 2, if we're talking about Game of the Year awards, Stalker 2 will be, it misses the deadline by like 2 or 3 days. I think the deadline is November 18th or 17th, and the game comes out on the 20th, so they can't be nominated. So even if Stalker 2 is a masterpiece, it can't win. Astrobot could also be an easy W. That could be a really easy W. Space Marine 2, I just don't see journalists voting for. Helldivers 2, even then, is like a little bit of a stretch. I think the safest bet for most of these guys, like, you got to remember, it's people like Greg Miller who are voting for Game of the Year. Greg Miller and like Jeff Keighley, like those guys. I don't think they're voting for Space Marine 2. I think they're voting for games like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I think they're voting for games like Astrobot. I just don't see them. Yeah, maybe Dragon Age will win. It might. If it gets a nomination, that would be crazy. I don't think, based on the Metacritic score and what I've seen of it, I don't think it's quite on that level to compete with some of the other stuff that came out this year, but maybe. Wyatt, thank you for the 10. I can understand trying to expand your empire, but at some point you have to stop and decide if what you're doing is instead limiting you and ruining your image. Yeah, I think there's kind of a focus on growth at all costs within a lot of these companies, and they lose sight of what it does to the brand. Like, PlayStation's continuing doubling down of live service stuff has done a lot of damage to their perceived value of their first party titles, and I think that they just didn't understand that. I think they thought that they could partner with like Warner Brothers for exclusive marketing rights on Suicide Squad, and they could also partner with whatever the name of the studio is that did Rise of the Ronin, and those games, one was really bad in the form of Suicide Squad. The other one was technologically really out of date. It just ran really bad. It looked really bad, even if the gameplay was solid. And as a result, like, each of those starts to harm the PlayStation brand. And I think that they have kind of lost sight of that. And then the live service stuff, it also harms your brand when you're putting out stuff like Concord. And that's your big release for the year, which we've had like Helldivers, and then we got Concord. And Helldivers, really solid, but didn't have like any real money behind it. It just was kind of like a surprise hit. But Concord had all the money behind it and was a disaster. Just a total disaster. So anyway, I agree. Wyatt. Rambling. Thank you for the 5. In my Starfield and Veilguard question, I was referring to the choices and consequences of the game. Sorry if I'm derailing. I couldn't ask earlier. Oh, no, you're fine. So how do Starfield and Veilguard compare in terms of like role-playing and consequence and storylines? I think Veilguard does a better job, because I also don't really think Starfield is much of an RPG. They do let you do some stuff here and there, but Starfield is very relegated to individual quest lines. There's not much consequence off of different planets and stuff, you know, from when you leave a quest line to go to a different one. In Veilguard, like, you can make a choice to, like, where this city is destroyed. The city's gone. You screwed it up. It's dead. Everyone's dead. Or you save that one and you destroy this city, and this city is dead and destroyed. You can make big choices like that. My problem is just that stuff happens very early in the game, and then the rest, like the last 2/3 of the game, are just friendship simulator, where it's not really a lot of role playing on the player's part. It's a lot of just working with the party members to like work through their trauma, and it's just there. The production value is way better. There's things like that. I think I'd have to give it still to Dragon Age. Like, it's why people, you know, it's always tough whenever you're trying to critique a game, because you end up just describing all the things you don't like, and then people are like, so you hate it? And it's like, no, I don't hate it. I just have a lot of like problems with it, but it doesn't mean I hate the game. I just can look at a bunch of issues I have with it. And it's always a struggle for me is making sure to also mention the stuff I do like. And so I don't think Dragon Age is like bad. I just don't think it's great. But that's why also I'm not really interested in giving it number scores. You know, I think it's too reductive to try and do that. Starfield was just bleh. Like, it was just nothing. It was like the fried air that you get from the Japanese restaurant with your sushi that doesn't taste like anything. It's just fried air. That's Starfield. At least this game, like, there's something there, you know, and there's parts of it I really like. There's parts I really don't like, but at least there's something, you know, and with Starfield, there was nothing, you know, other than the ship customization and flying. There really is not much there. Chris, why do you think why do you think Concord was so hated, but a game like Deadlock is comparatively much better received? Thanks for all the great content. I think Deadlock is a much more novel concept, merging like MOBA stuff with the hero system. I plan on playing it later today and trying it for the first time. Somebody hooked me up with access to it, so I'm going to try Deadlock. But I've heard that it's just really, really well done. And Concord, it was just an uninteresting idea that was decently implemented, but even then, like, it wasn't blowing my mind. There's a video from Moon Channel about the lawsuit. In the video, he alleges Nintendo is suing Pocket Pair because they partnered up with Sony. Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting. Thank you for the 5. I'll pull that up in another tab. I'll look that up. That sounds interesting. Yeah. I'll have to check that out. Okay, I think I caught up on all that. Caught up there. And then over on Twitch, House of Haas, thank you for resubbing. 4 months, ooh baby. And Loop 7654, thank you also for subbing with Prime. Are you watching the Indiana Jones gameplay deep dive on the 11th? Yeah, that is my plan. Probably here on stream if it times out. We'll check it out. So, yeah. Anyway, guys, I love you guys. You guys are fantastic. I'm going to go and get lunch with the missus on this beautiful snowy day. You guys are lovely. I appreciate the gosh darn heck out of all of you. What t-shirt brand do you wear? These are all just like the basic like Lululemon, whatever. They're just really soft, and I tried a couple of them, and now I can't wear anything else. So, and I don't like choosing what clothes I'm gonna wear. I like just grabbing one and going. So I don't tend to wear a lot of graphic tees. These are just basic and simple and comfy. So that's what I do. Anyway, much love, everybody. Praise be to Todd, indeed. Have a great day. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.